Chapter 467. Miss Tang, I beg of you. I beg of you. Seeing Dr. Lin's eyes filled with despair, Tongning did not feel a single trace of pity. She knew, if Dr. Lin hadn't been exposed, she would not have felt that she had done anything wrong. In fact, she would have even spent the money she had gotten from hurting her all over the place. She would still be proud of herself. Don't beg me. After all, you didn't even give me a chance to beg you. After speaking, Mo Ting gestured for Lu Che to take Dr. Lin away. Afterwards, the doctor that had examined Tongning entered the meeting room. Seeing how miserable Dr. Lin was, the young woman was so scared that her whole body trembled. As long as you have money, you can produce a medical report that doesn't match the patient's body, right? Mo Ting asked as he leaned back in his chair and hugged Tongning. No. It's not like that. No. The woman tried to explain in a panic. I'm sorry, I won't do it again. Please let me go. This is my first time. Hearing the word first time, Tongning couldn't help but sneer. In that case, did you know that your first time could cause me to have a miscarriage and become infertile for the rest of my life? If what happened to me today, how are you going to compensate for the loss of my child? Your life? The woman was obviously frightened by Tongning as tears welled up in her eyes. But she did not dare to make another sound. I don't want to cause trouble. But if you want to bully me, who can you blame? I wonder what your new husband will think if he finds out how evil you are. I've already asked someone to notify him. After hearing Tongning's words, the woman completely broke down as she knelt on the floor with her eyes wide open. Tongning was too scary. If Mo Ting's aura was suffocating then, Tongning's was heart-wrenching. She didn't hurt people physically, but she was able to grasp onto their weaknesses and ruthlessly stab them. Nothing was more frightening than losing the most important thing, because it would destroy a person's will to live. The incident also involved a few minor characters. However, Mo Ting did not plan to meet with them one by one. He simply left it up to Lu Che to deal with it as he saw fit. After all, Tongning had already given him a method to deal with the incident. On the surface, it didn't seem like he was hurt, but in reality, he was completely destroyed. Afterwards, Mo Ting gently stroked Tongning's stomach and asked, You haven't vented your anger yet. I know there are 2 more. I'll send them to you in a bit. Tongning knew who Mo Ting was referring to, but she shook her head. The Zhong family are easy to deal with, but Tang Xian will naturally be dealt with by someone else. She believed that after this incident, if Elder Tang was still unconscious, he would no longer be the head of the Tang family. Afterwards, Xia Yuling helped Elder Tang out of the meeting room. As their eyes met, Xia Yuling immediately looked at Tongning's stomach. Is the baby okay? I'm fine. Just a moment ago, Elder Tang was so angry that he finally realized that Tongning was pregnant. Thus he was suddenly overjoyed. Yes, Xiaoning is pregnant, she's pregnant. Grandpa, I know. Leave Tang Xian to me. Don't worry, grandfather will not tolerate her this time, nor will I allow her to play any tricks. However, her child must be kept. Tongning understood. Rather than exposing Tang Xian at a time like this, it was better to let everyone know her true colors and watch her put on an act. Because when the truth was revealed, everyone would be pleasantly surprised. Didn't Tang Xian think she was smart? One day, when she found out that everyone already knew that she was acting, she would definitely feel like dying. How old is the child? When is the due date? But she did not forget to remind him. Grandfather, I hope you can keep my pregnancy a secret for now. Especially not from Tang Xian. She thinks my uterus has been removed. I don't want her to think of ways to deal with me and our child. I understand. Elder Tang nodded his head. However, the mixed feelings of joy and worry almost made his body collapse. In the end, the matter was resolved. To ensure that Tongning arrived on set on time, Mo Ting did not say much to Elder Tang and Xia Xinyan. As for Elder Tang, he was afraid that Tang Xian would find out that he was with Tongning and cause unnecessary trouble. So he hurried home. However, before he left, Mo Ting handed him a box. This is evidence of Tang Xian hiring an assassin. Elder Tang did not say a word as he nodded his head seriously. Take good care of my granddaughter. I love her more than you do. Mo Ting said before he left Qiaokong Hospital. Elder Tang knew that he couldn't compare to Mo Ting. So on the way home he sighed to Xia Yuling. How did the Tang family raise a monster like Tang Xian? Father, just to be safe, as long as your medicine and other items are in Tang Xian's hands, I need to carefully inspect them. After all, for the sake of power and attention, she is willing to do anything. I'm afraid. Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. There's no way I can't see through a trick like this, Elder Tang warned. If she dares to go against me, I will cripple her on the spot. Xia Yuling was not so optimistic. She had long felt that Tang Xian was beyond saving. This time the Tang family was in for a good show. Meanwhile, Mo Ting escorted Tang Ning back to the set. Of course, even though everyone in the family knew that she was pregnant, there was no way she was going to announce it right now. After all, it wasn't safe yet and it wasn't enough to provoke Tang Xian. Originally, the two had agreed that they would wait until The Lost Relative had finished filming. Right now grandfather and mom are looking after Tang Xian, so you don't need to worry. I'm not optimistic. Tang Ning shook her head worriedly. But I have faith that grandfather won't be soft-hearted this time. You don't need to worry about the Tang family. Focus on filming and try to finish filming as soon as possible. Thinking about everything that had just happened at Xiaokong Hospital, Tang Ning knew that, according to Mo Ting's style, there was no way he would let those people off so easily. As his wife, she was well aware of how black-bellied he was. I know. Every time I think about how you almost got hurt, I feel a little scared. Hubby, are you blaming yourself? Tang Ning hooked her arms around Mo Ting's neck. But every time, you've saved me from danger. And this time, you've protected us. I've always trusted you. No matter when or what you do, I'll always trust you. Chapter 468. After returning home, Elder Tang sat in the study room for quite some time. In his hand was the black box that Mo Ting had given him. After hesitating for a long time, he finally placed the box in the safe. He knew, if he saw what was inside, he wouldn't want to spend another second with Tang Xian. It didn't take long before Tang Xian knocked on the door. Grandfather, can I come in? A complicated expression appeared on Grandfather Tang's face as he replied to the door. Come in. Tang Xian pushed open the door and entered with a bright smile. She walked over to Elder Tang's side and hugged onto his arm. Grandfather, staying at home while pregnant is too boring. Can I go out to work? Work? Ever since he had seen Tang Xian's true colors, no matter what she said or did, Elder Tang subconsciously linked it to a conspiracy. The reason Tang Xian mentioned going out to work was because she wanted to use her child to return to Tangkor and build a foundation for herself to return to the top. You've just gotten pregnant. If you go out to work, you will tire out my precious great-grandson. No, grandfather, you know my temper. The more you don't want me to do something, the more I want to do it. Of course, Elder Tang knew her temper. It seemed, even if Elder Tang didn't hand over Tangkor to her, he would at least return her to her previous position. But she was wrong. Elder Tang, of course, agreed to let her go out to work. Otherwise, she would definitely put on an even more spectacular show to gain sympathy. So Elder Tang smiled and patted the back of her hand. Okay, grandfather agrees. I will give you a call in a moment to make arrangements. But you need to promise me that you will take care of your health and not work so hard like before. Thank you, grandfather. Tang Xian was overjoyed. According to how much Elder Tang doted on her, it wouldn't be long before she successfully chased Xia Yuling away and took back what originally belonged to her. Go get some rest. Grandfather still needs to look at some documents. Elder Tang looked at Tang Xian's smile and felt afraid and fake. They were obviously close. Yet she was like a demon that hurt the most important people around her. Okay. Tang Xian had achieved her goal, so she turned to leave the study room. However, Elder Tang suddenly stopped her. Go upstairs and call Yuling down. I'll go right away. Elder Tang wanted to see Xia Yuling because he wanted to arrange a position for her. So Tang Xian immediately headed over to Xia Yuling's room and maintained her fragile facade. Auntie, grandfather wants to see you in the study room. Xia Yuling resisted the urge to slap her across the face. She looked down at the documents in her hands and replied, I'll go right away. Tang Xian's expression contained a sense of pride. She was currently imagining that Xia Yuling's status would soon disappear. However, she had no idea how much strength Xia Yuling had to use to stop herself from touching her. Afterwards, Xia Yuling headed downstairs and entered Elder Tang's bedroom. "Father, you were looking for me?" Grandpa Sheng gestured with his chin that Tang Xian was eavesdropping outside the door. "Go inside." Xia Yuling nodded her head as she sat down on the balcony with Elder Tang, completely preventing Tang Xian from eavesdropping. "Tang Xian wants to return to work at Tangkor. I've already agreed." "Dad, let me finish." Elder Tang looked into the distance with a look of disappointment and sorrow. "I'll leave this matter in your hands. Give her the most leisurely job and use her pregnancy as an excuse to temporarily stabilize her. I know it's impossible for her to stay put, but arrange for suitable people to monitor her every move. Keep track of her movements at all times and adapt to the situation. If it wasn't for the child in her stomach." "Dad, I understand how you feel." Xia Yuling patted the back of Elder Tang's hand. Xia Yuling patted the old man on the back of his hand. "If she wasn't pregnant, I would have already crippled her." After all, Tongning almost fell victim to Tang Xian's evil scheme. After the two finished discussing, Xia Yuling stepped out of Elder Tang's study room. Meanwhile, Tang Xian pretended to be watching TV. As soon as she saw Xia Yuling, she immediately stood up and looked at her. "Report to the office tomorrow," Xia Yuling said calmly in an indifferent tone. "Sorry to trouble you, Auntie." Tang Xian lifted her head. She was certain that Xia Yuling had just fought with Elder Tang, but she had no idea that no one in the Tang family would be fooled by her anymore. Xia Yuling let out a gentle laugh, but her tone contained a hidden sense of contempt. Tang Xian assumed that Xia Yuling was unhappy, so the corners of her lips secretly curved upwards in the darkness. Tomorrow, there was bound to be a good show to watch. After returning to the set, Tongning threw herself back into filming. Perhaps it was because Tang Xian's matter had been resolved, she was much more focused than before. But just as she was about to let go of the huge rock in her heart, another big incident happened in the entertainment industry that night. Bai Chendong was photographed kissing a mysterious woman in front of his home. Although the woman's identity was unknown, there were photos of the couple intimately returning to the villa as proof. Originally, this had nothing to do with Tongning, but after seeing this piece of news, Tongning couldn't help but furrow her brows. Bai Chendong was lazy to the bone, and only had one assistant by his side, Han Xiner. Plus, he obviously liked Han Xiner. So, why would he suddenly appear on camera hugging another woman? Tongning had been too busy these past few days. It seemed, it had been a while since she had the time to care about the people around her. So she immediately gave Han Xiner a phone call. "Xiner, what's going on with Bai Chendong?" "I'm not sure either. I'm busy with PR." Han Xiner's voice was filled with disbelief. "Xiner, you and Bai Chendong." "A few days ago, Feng Yu sent me an invitation from Hai Rui's PR department. From that moment on, he became very abnormal." Han Xiner thought back carefully. She didn't think that she could stay by Bai Chendong's side for the rest of her life. She also needed to improve. So she didn't think there was anything wrong with taking part in Hai Rui's exam. "You obviously know that he likes you." Tongning revealed the hidden meaning behind her words. "Don't tell me you can't tell. He's tried his best to be patient, but he hasn't received a response from you. But I've thought about it for a long time. It wasn't easy for me to get a new lease on life. I don't want to just stay by his side. I want to be worthy of him. How could I dream of being his assistant?" Han Xiner replied in seriousness. Actually, Tongning completely understood how Han Xiner felt. She was optimistic and cheerful and didn't like to rely on a man, because she felt that she had the ability to be worthy of Bai Chendong. "Xiner, if you want to do something, then go ahead and do it. Do it with a bang so that you don't waste your life." Chapter 469. "Ningjia, don't worry, I know what to do," Han Xiner replied confidently. Tongning remained silent for a few seconds. In the end, she let out a gentle laugh. "Bai Chendong is too self-centered. You should take this opportunity to teach him a lesson. If you really want to spend the rest of your life with him, don't be a coward." I know, Ningjia. After hanging up the phone with Tongning, Han Xiner immediately contacted the media. But the paparazzi had already captured solid evidence of Bai Chendong and the woman kissing. So Han Xiner directly replied, "It's not convenient for me to respond. If I have some good news, I will share it with everyone." In reality, the media had been trying to uncover the relationship between Bai Chendong and Han Xiner. Over the years, Bai Chendong had never used an assistant, yet he used Han Xiner. This was enough to prove that Han Xiner held a special place in his heart. Unfortunately, Bai Chendong's whereabouts were always a mystery, so there were very few opportunities to capture a photo of him and Han Xiner. However, just as everyone was used to the ambiguous relationship between Bai Chendong and Han Xiner, this mysterious woman suddenly appeared. The media began to speculate that Han Xiner was about to fall out of favor, and that Bai Chendong had found a new love, so he would not give her a chance and cancel her contract without hesitation. Plus, Han Xiner's attitude was too official, so it became even more certain that the relationship between the two had changed. However, this wasn't the most exciting part. The most exciting part was when Bai Chendong stepped out and revealed the truth. "This woman does indeed have a special relationship with me." His tacit agreement pushed Han Xiner into the limelight of the media. "In that case, have you thought about what to do with Han Xiner? She is just my employee. What can I do?" Bai Chendong replied as he walked. The next morning, Han Xiner watched the interview at home and decided it was time for her to leave. So she wrote her resignation letter and drove over to Bai Chendong's home. As she pushed open the door, she found him still in bed, so she placed the letter on his bedside table. "What do you mean?" Bai Chendong furrowed his brows. "I will soon be taking part in Hai Rui's exams, so I won't be able to continue being your employee. I've learned a lot during this time, thank you." "Wait, who gave you permission to leave?" Bai Chendong sat up and revealed his muscular upper body. "Haven't you looked at the contract carefully?" "I saw it. 30 years. You may need a stable assistant, but I can't just be your assistant for the rest of my life. I have my own life and plans." "Han Xiner, did you think that I would follow you for the rest of my life? I have patience too." Han Xiner stopped in her tracks, but she did not turn around. She simply sounded more determined and mature than before. "You are wrong. If you truly love someone, even if your organs are torn apart, you will still be patient." "Dongge, I'm going to give you the answer you want right now. I do indeed like you, but I feel very inferior. I have no way of fighting for you in my current state." After speaking, Han Xiner turned to leave, but Bai Chendong suddenly held her back. "Are you serious?" "Of course." After speaking, Han Xiner freed herself from Bai Chendong's grasp and left the apartment without looking back. Bai Chendong did not chase after her. Instead, as he lay in bed, his lips suddenly curved upwards. He had waited for too long. All he wanted was a reaction from Han Xiner. If Han Xiner continued to be his assistant in a lukewarm manner, then he would continue to waste time with her. So he deliberately provoked her. As expected, although this drug was a little strong, there was still a lot of time ahead of them. Not long after, Bai Chendong received a phone call from Tongning. "Xiner is temporarily staying at my old apartment. Don't worry, her old apartment has already been discovered by the media." Ever since Long Jie married Lu Che, the old apartment had been empty, so it was the perfect place for Han Xiner to stay. "How do you know that I care about her whereabouts? Are you planning to pretend in front of me? Then from now on, I will keep my mouth shut about any news regarding Xiner. Stop talking nonsense. Send me her address," Bai Chendong said. "I'll owe you one." "No need, you've already helped me enough." After hanging up the phone, Tongning sent Bai Chendong the address of her old apartment to him. Bai Chendong immediately packed his things and drove to the secluded location. As he watched Han Xiner struggle to move, Bai Chendong did not step forward to help. At least, he had already found the temple. How could the monk run away? So he immediately contacted Mo Ting. "Help me find a place to stay near your wife's old apartment." "Is this how you ask for help?" Mo Ting's lips curved slightly. "I'm not in a good mood today." Actually, rather than not in a good mood, it was more accurate to say that it was a complicated feeling. He understood Han Xiner's intentions, but he couldn't find a reason to make her stay. That kind of feeling was really exciting, but also frustrating. I'll get Lu Che to do it in a moment. Mo Ting did not continue to argue with him as he calmly agreed to help. Tongning and Han Xiner were actually very similar, but also very different. Tongning had experienced a lot of pain, so she knew what she wanted and what she should cherish. But Han Xiner lacked that determination and courage. It was precisely because she knew this in her heart that she hoped that through success, she could hone herself and make herself mature. All in all, Bai Qindong still had a long way to go in order to chase after his wife. 10 a.m. Tang Xian entered Tang Court dressed in a white business suit. Her style and attitude were the same as before. She was certain that Elder Tang would help her back to where she used to be. Because of her identity, the staff at Tang Court still respectfully addressed her as Miss Tang. At the same time, they were surprised by her return, and began to wonder if Tang Court was about to undergo a change. Afterwards, Tang Xian arrived at the front desk. Xia Yuling's secretary was already waiting outside. Miss Tang, the president has given you instructions. Please follow me. Tang Xian lifted her head, looking confident and charming. Okay. However, as soon as she stepped into the elevator and saw the secretary press the button for the highest floor, Tang Xian's expression became a little more confident. After all, her previous office happened to be on the same floor. You're quite smart. Let's keep in touch from now on, Tang Xian said to Xia Yuling's secretary. However, the steady secretary did not respond. She simply responded with silence, because Tang Xian was about to experience the difference between them. Chapter 470. After entering the office, Tang Xian naturally placed her handbag on the old office desk. Just as she was about to sit down, Xia Yuling's secretary suddenly said, "Sorry, Miss Tang, this is your seat." Tang Xian looked at the small office next to her, and her expression changed. No one knew better than her how she normally treated the people in that office. What's going on? Didn't grandfather tell me to return to my old position? Miss Tang, President Xia is now in charge of Tang Court. Chairman Tang has already given her full authority to handle this matter. So this is your seat. After all, President Xia has taken into consideration that you are pregnant and can't overwork yourself. If something were to happen to you, President Xia wouldn't be able to take responsibility. The secretary used Elder Tang's pregnancy to pressure Tang Xian. She could use her child, but so could Xia Yuling. Tang Xian held back her anger as she grabbed her handbag and sat down on the secretary's seat. Her hands began to tremble, but she couldn't refute. I hope Miss Tang is happy at work. Xia Yuling's secretary sneered behind Tang Xian's back before she left the office. But this wasn't the worst thing for Tang Xian. She was about to see her superior that she had once humiliated and looked down on a long time ago. As soon as the secretary returned to her office, she reported everything to Xia Yuling. Xia Yuling acted like an experienced strong woman as she glared at Tang Xian with disgust. If she wasn't pregnant, I would have made her life a living hell. What an inhumane woman. I will take care of this matter, the secretary replied. Okay, Xia Yuling nodded her head in satisfaction. Tang Xian had been an heiress since she was born. When had she ever suffered such humiliation? So after one morning, she couldn't help but give Elder Tang a phone call. Grandfather. Do you know what position Auntie has placed me in? She's already told me and I think it's a good fit. Elder Tang replied straightforwardly. You are currently pregnant, so you should do something to pass time. Don't mind it too much. Plus, Grandfather started from the bottom. Are you looking down on me? Of course not. Tang Xian was so angry that she almost flipped the desk in front of her. She was a dignified lady. How could she do such a lowly thing? Xia Yuling, you're really despicable. Tang Xian was so focused on placing the blame on Xia Yuling. She had no idea that Elder Tang was watching her every move. In the afternoon, Old Master Tang received a phone call from Assistant Lung. Chairman, the big missy has been normal today. Apart from putting some important documents into the shredder, it seems she really hates you and President Xia. That kind of venomous woman has committed countless crimes. Giving her her current position is already a blessing. Continue to monitor her. If necessary, give her a lesson. Elder Tang no longer treated Tang Xian as a human because she had done something inhumane. Assistant Lung was not surprised by Elder Tang's reaction. After all, Elder Tang had already endured too much. Afterwards, Xia Yuling told Tongning over the phone, "Your grandfather is even more ruthless than I am. Mom, be careful. I'm pregnant right now and I'm rushing to film. There are a lot of things that I can't do. Don't worry. Take good care of yourself and my grandson." Tongning subconsciously rubbed her stomach as she carefully felt the little life growing inside her. Soon, she would complete her film and return home to give birth. She was not going to be a burden to the baby. The Lost Relative, officially completed with Tongning playing the role of a top thug. From model to actress, Tongning has the potential to break new box office records for police films. She's been rumored to be infertile, yet she has produced one film after another. At the end of September, Tongning's scenes for The Lost Relative were officially completed. However, only a few people on set knew that she was pregnant. Thanks to Mo Ting's constant care, Tongning's pregnancy had yet to show any signs. The entire crew congratulated Tongning on completing her filming, and were sincerely impressed by how she had completed such a difficult film. Tongning thanked them one by one before leaving the set with Mo Ting. Recently, there are a few talk shows that are meant to help you win an award. I've only agreed to one of them, so it won't be too stressful. It will be quite relaxing. After listening to Mo Ting's arrangements, Tongning nodded her head. My almighty manager, you have the final say. I will take this opportunity to announce that you are pregnant and dispel the rumors that Tang Xian created. Okay. Tongning nodded her head before she leaned lazily into Mo Ting's embrace. That's right. Her only reaction was to become drowsy. Mo Ting gently stroked her back and covered her with a blanket. As he watched her sleeping peacefully in his arms, Mo Ting's heart softened. Another piece of good news was, Han Xiner had successfully joined Hai Rui's PR department. As for the rumor that she and Bai Qindong had parted ways, it only lasted for a few days before it was replaced by other news. Afterwards, the identity of the mysterious woman that was intimate with Bai Qindong was revealed by the netizens. It turned out she was also a model from Hai Rui and her career was currently on the rise. Since they were both from Hai Rui, it was inevitable that they would bump into each other at the agency. Han Xiner turned a deaf ear to what was going on around her, but she couldn't stop the woman from looking for trouble. For example, at this moment, the woman had arrived at the agency to discuss a contract, and was squeezed into the same elevator as her. At first she looked surprised, but then she looked at her with contempt. Oh, it's you. Han Xiner rubbed her neck, not wanting to respond. I know Bai Qindong likes you, but you left him. So, I'm sorry, but I've taken over Bai Qindong. The woman glared directly at Han Xiner. As the two women had different identities, she did not think that Han Xiner had much of a chance of winning against her. Miss Luo, you don't need to report this matter to me. Han Xiner replied coldly. But you still live in his heart. The woman pointed to Han Xiner's heart and laughed mockingly. What does a mere employee like you have that a top actor likes? You need to believe that I will replace you sooner or later. After all, I am the only woman by his side. Han Xiner scoffed. As soon as she reached her floor, she walked out the door. By the way, I heard that you and Tongning have a good relationship. You won't be using her to suppress me, will you? I'm not easily intimidated. Chapter 471. Outside the elevator, Feng Yu was just about to head downstairs. As soon as he saw the scene in front of him, his eyebrows naturally furrowed. Han Xiner was, after all, a top student that he had his eyes on, and had a close relationship with them. Since when did she get to the point where she could be bullied? What's going on? Feng Yu asked the red-faced Han Xiner. Is it because of Bai Qindong? Where are the rules? Did an artist bully a PR employee? Does she still want to survive in this industry? Vice President Feng, I'm fine. Han Xiner held on to him. She will eventually feel better. As soon as Feng Yu heard this, he immediately understood what Han Xiner was trying to say. Since she had entered the industry, she needed to understand how to survive. If she couldn't handle things on her own, Would she have to rely on others to help her every time? No one could help her for the rest of her life. Feng Yu let out a gentle laugh and nodded his head. Enduring and waiting for the right moment is the right thing to do. Look at your Ning Jia. She has always been the one behind the scenes. I know. Okay, get back to work. Feng Yu did not continue to argue with Han Xiner, but he still mentioned the incident of Han Xiner being bullied in front of Mo Ting. In this industry, whether it was him, Mo Ting or Lu Che, none of them would allow another woman to bully their wife. So Bai Chendong's attitude towards Han Xiner made him feel uncomfortable. Mo Ting understood what Feng Yu was thinking. Although for a busy man like him, it wasn't something worth taking to heart. But when he thought about his relationship with Bai Chendong, he still gave Bai Chendong a phone call after work. Previously you tried so hard to get your hands on her. Yet now you're tossing her aside and ignoring her. What are you trying to do? Why do you care? Bai Chendong asked in a childish tone. I can't be bothered with you. But today, Han Xiner was humiliated by a woman at the agency. In fact, you were the one who allowed it to happen. If I was Han Xiner, I would never want to speak to you. Would a man allow his woman to be bullied? Plus, you better not call my wife again in the middle of the night. I'm warning you, don't harass her in the middle of the night. I say, are you so kind because you love your wife? Bai Chendong scoffed and hung up the phone. But from this moment onwards, he suddenly asked the makeup artist to help him remove his makeup. An hour later, he arrived at Hai Rui's office. After waiting for quite some time, Han Xiner finally emerged from Hai Rui with a stack of documents in her arms. Bai Chendong spotted her from the rearview mirror. He pushed open the car door and was about to walk over to her when a crowd of onlookers approached. Isn't that Bai Chendong? To look for Roy. Probably. After all, she's his rumored girlfriend. Bai Chendong. Can I have an autograph? Bai Chendong. Bai Chendong had no intention of causing a commotion. So as soon as Han Xiner heard his name, she sped off. But at this time, Bai Chendong suddenly called out, Stop right there. Did I say you could leave? Han Xiner. Everyone was stunned as they turned to look at Han Xiner. Wasn't it rumored that the two had parted ways? Why would Bai Chendong personally come to Hai Rui to look for Han Xiner? It turned out, he was here to look for Han Xiner. Dong Ge, what a coincidence. I have an early shift tomorrow, so I'll be leaving first. After speaking, Han Xiner turned to leave. But Bai Chendong suddenly ran over and grabbed her by the arm. He then dragged her into his sports car and drove off in front of everyone. What are you doing? Did Roy cause trouble for you today? Bai Chendong asked as he parked his car in a quiet spot. That's none of your business. If it's because of me, then it's my business. If I wasn't upset, why would I come looking for you? Would I be asking for trouble? Bai Chendong couldn't stand it any longer. He then looked ahead and relaxed a little. How much longer do you want me to wait? I don't care. Move to my house today. You're on set filming. If I move to your house, I won't be able to see you, Han Xiner said helplessly. But, at least if you're at my house, my heart will be at peace. I've been taking too many NGs lately, because I've been thinking about you. Bai Chendong's words became more and more shameless. After all, they had already expressed their feelings for each other, and they both cared about each other. Since that was the case, it didn't matter if he took a step forward. Do you agree or not? Han Xiner didn't know if Bai Chendong was lazy because he was irritable, or if he was irritable because he was lazy. But it seemed this irritable lion did return to normal after being comforted by her. But was she really capable of doing that? Forget it, I shouldn't have asked you. After speaking, Bai Chendong directly drove back to his home, completely ignoring Han Xiner's opinion. Afterwards, the couple entered the living room. Bai Chendong threw his car keys to the side and said to Han Xiner, You're more familiar with this place than I am. Make your own arrangements, I still need to return to the set. Han Xiner stood in the doorway without moving an inch. Meanwhile, Bai Chendong turned around and looked at her. I'm begging you, can you save me? I know you have your own plans in life and things you want to do. But don't stray too far away from me. I'm already used to having you around, Han Xiner. Whether you go to work at Hai Rui or continue to be my assistant, I don't care. But I want you to be my woman. I want you to be my woman. Hearing these words, Han Xiner's heart felt like it had received a heavy blow. If she said she wasn't moved, she would be lying. After all, not every man was like Bai Qindong. Plus, hadn't she been suffering for the past month as well? Why aren't you saying anything? Han Xiner was a little surprised. In the end, she looked away and said awkwardly, I don't have any clothes here. Wear mine. But I don't have any underwear to change into. Wear mine. I'll go with you to the set, Han Xiner said straightforwardly. In reality, she had a lot of things she wanted to say to Bai Qindong. If she was left to guard the set on her own, she would be so upset that she wouldn't be able to sleep. Bai Qindong raised an eyebrow, indicating that he had no objections. This was for the best. As long as this woman was willing to stay by his side, nothing else mattered. But you can drive. Bai Qindong retrieved the car keys and threw them at Han Xiner. The couple once again left the house. This time, Bai Qindong rested his head on Han Xiner's shoulder and closed his eyes. I'm going to take a nap. It's been a long time since I've had a good night's sleep. It's all your fault. At first, Han Xiner wasn't used to it. But when she saw Bai Qindong's tired expression, all she felt was heartache. Little did she know, the next day, another piece of big news was waiting for them. Chapter 472. Breaking news. 2 women fighting for 1 man. Bai Qindong enjoys life with 2 women. Secret revealed. Who is Bai Qindong's girlfriend? Rumor says Bai Qindong has 2 feet on 2 boats. Yet he gets along with his girlfriends. Because of Bai Qindong's actions at Hairue, he caused a huge commotion and dragged the 3 of them back into the fray. In fact, an insider even claimed that Han Xiner did not cancel her contract with Bai Qindong, but she had become an employee at Hairue and was suspected of cheating. After returning to the set, Bai Qindong immediately focused on filming at night. But as long as Han Xiner was by his side, he could endure no matter how tired he was. Seeing Han Xiner's influence on Bai Qindong, the crew couldn't help but say to her in private, Xiner, it's best you don't leave Dong Jiyi's side. When you're not around, everyone suffers. That's right. Without you, Dong Gu is like a ticking time bomb. No one can get close to him and his murderous aura can be felt within a 5 kilometers radius. By the way, I'm sure Dong Gu cares about you the most. Just ignore the rumors he's been having. Han Xiner looked at the crew and smiled. In reality, her situation wasn't much better than Bai Qindong's. But who would have thought, after an ordinary night, the next morning, all 3 of them would appear on the top searches list. One was the only female assistant that had been allowed to get close to him. The other was the only female model that had been rumored to be involved in a scandal. So, who was Bai Qindong's real girlfriend? The public was extremely curious about the answer. Han Xiner's phone was once again seized by the media. At the same time, Hairue was being questioned as to whether they were aware of Han Xiner and Bai Qindong's uncancelled contract. Meanwhile, Luo was being closely followed by the media. For the entire morning, everyone was trying their best to find out who Bai Qindong's real girlfriend was. At this moment, Han Xiner and Bai Qindong had just returned home from set. Han Xiner was cooking in the kitchen while Bai Qindong had a shower. He then sat on the sofa and turned on the TV. At the same time, he saw the annoying news. Come over for dinner, Han Xiner said calmly. Han Xiner replied calmly. She also looked tired, but at the same time, she felt uncomfortable inside. After all, Bai Qindong did not handle Luo Yi's incident well enough. That was why the public kept chasing after the 3 of them. Bai Qindong walked over to the dining table wrapped in a towel. As soon as Han Xiner saw him, she immediately covered her eyes. Can't you just wear a pair of pants? Bai Qindong glanced at Han Xiner and couldn't help but laugh. It's not like you haven't seen it before. Why are you pretending? Han Xiner turned her body slightly to avoid looking at him. Her tone was a little impatient. How do you plan to deal with this matter? You're my assistant. What do you think I should do? I don't dare to speak carelessly. After all, I'm afraid that I'll be slapped in the face. At that time, I don't know who admitted to having a special relationship with Luo Yi. If you are a man, you should clarify it yourself. Can I say anything I want to? Bei Chendong asked. Han Xiner turned around and glared at him. She was still feeling wronged. Right now, everyone is saying that I have a clever way of tricking Hai Rui and flirting with you. You should clarify it yourself. Bei Chendong looked at Han Xiner seriously and grabbed onto her wrist. You have to be someone important to me for me to clarify it. Otherwise, what right do you have to do it? What right do you have to do it? This is all because of you. Han Xiner scoffed. I don't care. If you don't reveal your identity today, I won't get involved. I am your assistant. So you are aware that you are my assistant. As my assistant, how could you allow me to be involved in a scandal like this? That is a dereliction of duty on your part. Plus, this identity doesn't matter to me. I won't clarify it for a mere assistant. After all, I am the best actor. Bei Chendong spoke in a serious tone. But in reality, he was trying to force Han Xiner to do something. Han Xiner lowered her head in silence. She did not say a word, nor did she want to respond. After quite some time, Bei Chendong finally asked in seriousness. Tongning has always said that you are the most optimistic out of all of them. What is it about me that makes you worry so much? Apart from being good at acting, I'm practically useless. Why can't you muster up that courage? I will only step out to clarify things for my woman. Are you not my woman? Bei Chendong asked as he grabbed onto Han Xiner's wrist. Hearing this question, Han Xiner slowly turned around and looked at Bei Chendong in seriousness. Perhaps because she was being pressured too much, Han Xiner also yelled at Bei Chendong. I, Han Xiner, will only date and never break up. If you simply think I am fun or impulsive, then don't get close to me. I will be serious and serious for the rest of my life. I am the same as Ningjia. When it comes to love, I would rather die in glory than live in dishonor. If you really want to be with me and end up betraying me or leaving me one day, then let's die together. Hearing the words die together, Bei Chendong was a little surprised. It turned out, Han Xiner was the type of person that would either go for 100% or 0%. She had to get her hands on everything, otherwise, she would rather give up. A moment later, Bei Chendong pulled Han Xiner into his embrace. No matter what, he wanted Han Xiner. He only wanted her. He felt he had endured long enough. Be my woman. I won't let you regret it. Han Xiner's eyes turned red. At this moment, she felt she could no longer reject Bei Chendong. Otherwise, she might actually lose this man. Think of a way to clarify the rumors. As for Luo Yi and Luo Air, please clean them up, Han Xiner said with a sobbing tone. In reality, she had wanted this embrace for too long. Bei Chendong nodded his head and looked at Han Xiner. Meanwhile, Han Xiner's face turned red. Bei Chendong wasn't wearing any clothes. In fact, underneath his towel, he was completely naked. Go put some clothes on first. You've already gotten used to my lifestyle. Bei Chendong was not ashamed as he looked at Han Xiner and raised an eyebrow. The corners of his lips also curved upwards. I've finally achieved victory. I really want to set off fireworks tonight. Do you want to go? Han Xiner crawled out of Bei Chendong's embrace and scolded. You're crazy. I'll go get some clothes for you. Bei Chendong knew he couldn't rush things, so he watched as Han Xiner disappeared through the bedroom door. He had to admit, when it came to winning Han Xiner, he wasn't as straightforward as he thought. But he didn't know when it started, but his liking for Han Xiner had reached a point where he couldn't control himself. He wanted to see her at any time and bully her at any time. As long as she could be his woman, clearing up the rumors was nothing. From now on, she would be the only woman by his side. That would be the case for the rest of his life. Chapter 473. After confirming his relationship with Han Xiner, Bei Chendong immediately gave Mo Ting a phone call. Hai Rui, release a PR statement to announce our relationship. In the past, you looked down on me when I asked you to rely on Hai Rui. But now you're asking me for help? Mo Ting did not let go of any opportunity to tease Bei Chendong. He even raised a condition. I can release a PR statement, but I want you to sign with Hai Rui. Mo Ting, you've already been married for a year. Don't tell me you want me to stay single for the rest of my life. I want to get married as soon as possible so I can catch up. I'm afraid you won't be able to catch up to my progress, Ting smiled confidently, because I'm going to be a father. Bai Chendong. Tongning was sitting beside Ting with a parenting book in her hands. Hearing Ting brag to Bai Chendong, she couldn't help but laugh. President Mo, it's not your style to tell everyone you meet. Ting put down his phone and sat down beside Tongning. I seem to be immersed in my excitement. Since it's about Bai Chendong, hurry and make arrangements. It'll be easier to explain to grandfather. Tongning instructed as she gently stroked Ting's handsome face. Ting leaned in and placed a kiss on her forehead before nodding his head. I'll come home early tonight to keep you company. I'll come over to have lunch with you. Tongning smiled at Ting. Okay. After speaking, Ting stood up and left the house. At the same time, he gave Fong Yu a phone call. Prepare a PR statement to announce that Bai Chendong and I are cousins. Since they were family, Han Xiner was able to work at Hai Rui as Bai Chendong's assistant. As for who the real woman was, Bai Chendong was probably the only one that could clarify the matter. But before this was announced, the comments online were split into two factions. A portion of netizens stood on Han Xiner's side. They felt that whether it was the amount of time they had known each other or their level of intimacy, Bai Chendong and Han Xiner were a couple. It was just that Luo Yi had suddenly stepped in. Meanwhile, Luo Yi's fans laughed at Han Xiner's background. They claimed that Bai Chendong merely treated her as an assistant and never had any other intentions towards her. At this time, after Luo Yi found out that Bai Chendong had specifically gone to Hai Rui to look for Han Xiner, her expression changed. She was a famous model. How could she not compare to a mere assistant? He wondered what Han Xiner had done. No, I can't just sit here and wait for death. Luo Yi had no intention of giving up on an outstanding man like Bai Chendong. Since she was the only woman that Bai Chendong had admitted to having a special relationship with, she definitely held a special place in his heart. So she had no reason to give up. As a result, before Hai Rui's PR could prepare a statement, Roy stepped forward and accepted an interview. Miss Luo, between you and Han Xiner, who is Bai Chendong's real girlfriend. Everyone said that you were the one who interfered first. Faced with the reporters' attacks, Roy calmly faced the cameras and said with a hint of anger and fierceness, from start to finish, Bai Chendong's girlfriend has always been me. It has nothing to do with anyone else. Someone knows very well who is the one who interfered. Did she think she could threaten Dong just because she brought Dong's secret to Hai Rui? Why don't you take a good look at yourself first? But it's a pity. How could Dong like a small assistant? That's all I have to say. I won't answer this question a second time. After speaking, Roy left the reporters with her assistant's help. As for the information she left behind, it was huge. Firstly, she admitted that she was Bai Chendong's girlfriend. Secondly, she pointed out that Han Xiner was clinging to Bai Chendong, and that Bai Chendong wasn't interested in her at all. In fact, they even had a falling out because of this. I knew it. With Han Xiner's status, how could she possibly win over a top actor? Not only is Roy beautiful, she also has a great figure. Any man would know what to choose. Hearing the discussions outside, Roy sneered as she returned to Hai Rui. Originally, she wanted to enter the waiting room, but just as she was about to enter the elevator, she ran into Tongning, who had just arrived to pick her husband up from work. As their eyes met, Roy did not dare to look at Tongning for too long. She was afraid she would feel guilty. Of course, Tongning had seen too many people like Roy. So just as the elevator door was about to close, she blocked it and said to Roy, "You have violated President Mo's taboo. Is it because he's become more merciful after getting married that you guys are hallucinating?" "Mrs. Mo, this is my personal matter." Roy did not dare to look into Tongning's eyes. She was afraid she would be seen through. "You will pay for what you've just said." Tongning did not force her as she let go of Roy's arm. Her actions were clean and precise, but it left a huge shadow in Roy's heart. Because Tongning's perfect figure, whether it was as a model or as an actress, whether it was status or popularity, Roy was left in the dust. In this world, there would never be a second Tongning. This was the true meaning of being a legend. At this time, Roy didn't quite understand the meaning behind Tongning's words. But a moment later, she would realize how painful a slap to the face would be. But regardless of everything else, the internet was currently attacking Han Xiner. Everyone thought she was clever and wanted to turn from a sparrow into a phoenix by clinging to Bai Chendong. High up in Mo Ting's office, Lu Che showed him the video of Roy's interview. However, Mo Ting simply glanced at it and said calmly, "Ban her." He didn't say anything else, he simply said one word, "Ban her." It was as if Roy was openly challenging his authority and Hai Rui's authority. Lu Che understood what Mo Ting meant and nodded his head. "I'll make arrangements to cancel all of Roy's endorsements and activities. Also, tell Feng Yu to hurry up. Otherwise, Bai Chendong will come knocking on our door." Even though he didn't mind teaching Bai Chendong a lesson, if he wanted true love, how could he borrow the hands of another woman? He was obviously digging his own grave. If Han Xiner was angry, there was nothing wrong with it. He had done something that angered a woman, so he deserved this outcome. Okay, Lu Che smiled as he turned and left Mo Ting's office. Was Roy under some sort of spell? She obviously knew what kind of place Hai Rui was, yet she still dared to play tricks in front of Mo Ting. She must be seeking death. Above all, she bullied Tang Ning's friend. She was digging her own grave 1,000 times over. There was no room for negotiation. In this world, there were always people that thought they were smart. But, until the very last moment, they would never realize that they were playing themselves to death. Chapter 474. But, before the truth was revealed, the scolding directed at Han Xiner was like a torrential river, trying to drown her in it. As no one realized that Han Xiner is Han Yufan's sister? If they aren't a family, they shouldn't be part of the same family. Han Xiner once stood up for Tang Ning. But after entering the industry, things have changed. All I can say is that the industry is messy. Isn't Han Xiner just a sickly person? She was on the verge of death. Yet she created an uproar because Tang Ning refused to donate her kidney to her. Get lost. I hate mistresses that ruin other people's lives. Han Xiner, you slut. Luo Yi, you've caused trouble. Seeing the heated news, her manager leaned against the table and said, "I should have stopped you from the start." What? Luo Yi had no idea that she was in trouble as she calmly played with her phone. "I thought your relationship with Bai Chendong was stable. But it seems that's not the case." Her manager crossed her arms and took a deep breath. The agent crossed her arms and looked at Roy. She took a deep breath and said, "Did you know that I just received a call from Special Assistant Lu? All of your previous events have been replaced by someone else, including runway shows and endorsements. Do you know what this means?" "It means you've been frozen by Hai Rui." Luo Yi's hand finally stopped playing with her phone as she looked at her manager in disbelief. "How did this happen?" "I was going to ask you the same thing. What happened between you and Bai Chendong? I heard President Mo personally gave the order." "I'll go look for President Mo." After speaking, Luo Yi stood up, but her manager held her back. "Who do you think you are? Did you think, with your current status, you'd even be able to see President Mo?" Her manager asked coldly. "Is Bai Chendong willing to help you?" Luo Yi was completely stunned. She had never imagined that a person's career could be completely destroyed because of a single sentence. But this was a career that she had just started. How could President Mo do this? It must be because of Tang Ning. I ran into her today, and she gave me a warning. Who would have thought? Didn't the public say that she never relies on a man? You still have to whisper in Mo Ting's ear. Roy's expression was filled with anger and unwillingness. "No, I'm not that easy to bully. I'm going to expose this matter." After speaking, Luo Yi excitedly picked up her phone and started contacting the media she was familiar with. So before Hai Rui's PR statement was released, Luo Yi once again escalated the matter. And this time, she dragged Tang Ning into it. In order to stand up for Han Xiner, Tang Ning convinced President Mo to ban me. Now all my resources have been replaced by someone else. Is this how Hai Rui treats their artists? Everyone knows how much President Mo dotes on Tang Ning. In fact, he has broken the shareholders' rights many times for her. Shareholders can still argue with CEO Mo if they have shares in their hands, but I'm just a nobody. How am I supposed to protect my lost rights? Hai Rui, please give me a reason to ban me. It was a video. and it quickly spread all over the internet. Luo Yi was determined to drag Tongning down with her, because she was certain that Tongning was the mastermind behind everything. So, she wanted to use the power of the outside world. Even if she couldn't get justice, she wanted to disgust the people she hated. But she had overestimated her position in the hearts of the netizens and underestimated the influence Tongning had on them. She had no idea, after the video was released, the people that originally supported her had turned to Han Xiner's side. Is Luo Yi crazy? Go ahead and do whatever you want. Please don't bring Tongning into this. Whether she is a model or an actress, she is not someone you can mention. Take my Ning away. Do you think you can slander her? Did Tongning blow on Mo Ting? This is the funniest joke I've ever heard. If Tongning really did something like that, President Mo would be the first to cripple her. If you want to create hype, can you not bring my Ning into this? Please remember, President Mo is a big boss. If you didn't do something, President Mo wouldn't even care about a small-time model like you. I can't tolerate someone slandering my Ning. My Ning has just finished filming for The Lost Relative and is currently tired. I don't care about scum like you. Go away. I originally pitied you for being poached, but after seeing the video of you slandering Tongning, I feel that perhaps Han Xiner was right, and have turned to slander. Luo Yi never expected that the information she released would result in such a result. Practically no one believed that Tongning was the one that caused her to be frozen by Mo Ting. How is this possible? Did Hai Rui hire a water army? That must be the case. Otherwise, people wouldn't be so one-sided. Luo Yi hid at home and looked at the comments. Her eyes were filled with disbelief. Why did everyone believe Tongning? Why were they so willing to believe Tongning? In reality, being frozen by Hai Rui was an internal matter. As long as this matter wasn't announced to the public, she still had a chance to make a comeback. But she chose the stupidest method. She took the initiative to announce that she had been frozen. This was equivalent to cutting off her path of retreat. Even if Hai Rui didn't want to be so ruthless, they had no choice but to be ruthless. This PR incident was the slowest that Feng Yu's PR department had ever handled. This was because after he told his wife about the incident, Hu Jingjing felt it was unfair for Han Xiner and wanted Feng Yu to teach Bai Chendong a lesson. Feng Yu had always respected his wife. So when it came to the PR department, he personally watched as the relevant staff typed each word. Vice President Feng, isn't this too slow? It's okay. We'll announce it tonight. Feng Yu looked at the watch on his wrist and said to the staff, You still have the nerve to say that? Tell me how many typos you typed. Staff. If you want to cause trouble for the best actor, just say so. Let me know when you're done. Feng Yu felt he couldn't stand it any longer, so he crossed his arms and left the PR department. The fact that Mo Ting and Tongning had not called to rush him proved that they were all thinking the same thing. Bai Chendong, the jerk, deserved to be taught a lesson. Meanwhile, Luo Yi was at home feeling defeated. After receiving 2 critical hits in one day, she had no choice but to speak up. Bai Chendong, if you are a man, then step out and say something. Why are you allowing your woman to be bullied? The netizens couldn't help but cheer. Bai Chendong, it's time to come out and claim your girlfriend. Don't be lazy this time. Of course, Bai Chendong was still waiting for a response from Hai Rui, but Mo Ting still hadn't released anything. Chapter 475. Just as the netizens craned their necks in anticipation of an answer, Hai Rui finally released a statement to clarify the situation. But the amount of information in the statement was enough to make people explode. It turns out Bai Chendong and President Mo are cousins. Their family genes are too strong. Have all the best people gone to the Mo family? This explains why Han Xiner is Bai Chendong's assistant and was able to enter Hai Rui. It turns out they are all family. Fuck, is this the first slap to Luo Yi's face? Huh. This is a family matter for Hai Rui. Why are these people in high spirits? In reality, Bai Chendong and Han Xiner had been staring at each other for the entire day. Han Xiner was obviously angry. After all, Bai Chendong had not expressed his opinion on the matter. Time to eat, Han Xiner said angrily to Bai Chendong, who was sitting on the sofa at the dining table. Bei Chendong stood up and pulled Han Xiner onto his lap. You've been glaring at me for an entire day. It's time you cooled down. Why should I? Han Xiner pushed Bei Chendong away. You kissed another woman, and now they're in such a mess. My reputation has been destroyed. How are you going to compensate me? Are you sure I kissed another woman? Bei Chendong looked at Han Xiner and raised an eyebrow. Have you never considered that it's a matter of perspective? What angle would make it look like a French kiss? Han Xiner obviously didn't believe him. The incident had always been a scar in her heart. Even if Bei Chendong was simply trying to provoke her, she couldn't help but be angry. Did you think that I couldn't do it with my acting skills? Bei Chendong looked at Han Xiner in seriousness. The truth is, I did not kiss her. If you don't believe me, you can check the surveillance footage. It's in the drawer of my room. If you hadn't silently admitted to it, would Miss Luo have been so serious? She simply wanted to use me to create hype. We both took what we needed. Bei Chendong disagreed. Bei Chendong did not care at all. I admit, I wasn't as honest as I thought I was. But that doesn't mean I'm a casual person. Who knows? In reality, Han Xiner had already believed him. But a woman who didn't mean what she said was normal. Plus, she had been upset for an entire month. Only now did she realize it was all part of this man's plan. How could she not be angry? You don't need to know. Go get changed, I'll take you out for some good food. Bei Chendong said as he pinched Han Xiner's nose. Be casual, no need to be too formal. Han Xiner had indeed been cooped up at home for an entire day. Although she knew there was a large group of reporters outside, she still wanted to get some fresh air. So she casually put on a hoodie and a baseball cap. Bei Chendong also took the opportunity to change into a set of casual clothes. As he left the house, he protected Han Xiner like a normal man. Where are we going? Han Xiner asked. There's a place I've wanted to visit for a long time. Bei Chendong did not directly tell her the location, but his tone was firm. Han Xiner originally thought he wanted to go somewhere luxurious. But instead he brought her to the busiest part of Beijing and brushed past a dense crowd of people. Hey, don't you think you've gone too far? This is a busy part of the city. If you're discovered, you won't be able to leave. What are you afraid of? Bei Chendong firmly held on to Han Xiner's hand. As soon as he saw the stage for the event, he led Han Xiner onto the stage. The venue was already filled with people, so the organizer thought Bei Chendong was here to cause trouble. Just as he was about to step forward and argue with him, he saw Bei Chendong remove his mask, and was so shocked that he was speechless. Bei Chendong? That's right, it's me, Bei Chendong said without hiding anything. Lend me your microphone, I'll help you advertise for free. Bei Chendong did not hide anything. Oh, okay, right away. As soon as the organizer heard this, he immediately grabbed the microphone from the fake singer and handed it to Bei Chendong. What do you want? Han Xiner felt like she was about to be surrounded. However, Bei Chendong held onto her hand tightly as he raised the microphone and said to the crowd, I am Bei Chendong. As soon as the crowd heard the name Bei Chendong, they immediately stopped in their tracks. After confirming that the man in front of them was indeed Bei Chendong, they immediately rushed forward with their phones out and began to take pictures of the two. Not long after, the small stage was completely surrounded by people. Look, Bei Chendong is holding on to Han Xiner's hand. Is he going to make it public? Oh God, is he trying to slap Luo Yi in the face? Quick, take pictures. I know you've all been curious about who my girlfriend is. Although I don't think I need to explain myself. Today, I'm going to give everyone an official answer. The woman in my hand is the woman that I've spent over half a year pursuing. Han Xiner is my only girlfriend. It's not that she pursued me, it's that I can't stop lusting after her. I can't leave her. That's why I did everything I could to make her my assistant, and make us inseparable. Hearing Bei Chendong's words, Han Xiner's face suddenly turned red. Below the stage, there were thousands of eyes and flashes of light focused on the couple. How could he choose to announce their relationship in such a way? Wasn't he afraid that he would lose his position as best actor? Then what's with Luo Yi? They even kissed. That's right. At that time, Bei Chendong admitted that Luo Yi was special to him. Han Xiner overheard the people below the stage discussing Bai Qindong and started to scold him for playing with other people's feelings. So, she subconsciously wanted to retreat. However, Bai Qindong did not give her a chance to retreat as he tightly held onto her hand, comforting her that he was here for her. That's because this stupid pig beside me refused to admit her feelings for me. So I took an unconventional approach and used Luo Yi. As long as I can find out Xiner's feelings, even if you guys don't acknowledge me as best actor, it doesn't matter. Are you crazy? Aren't you afraid of ruining yourself? Han Xiner asked anxiously. If I ruin myself, then so be it. I can go home and give birth. Mo Ting is about to be a father, we should hurry up, Bai Qindong replied indifferently. In reality, Bai Qindong knew that it was wrong of him to use Luo Yi. So he had already prepared himself to take responsibility. Why did you do this for me? You've put in so much effort over the years. Hearing Han Xiner's question, Bai Qindong raised his wife's hand and yelled, because it's worth it. Afterwards, he pulled Han Xiner out of the crowd. Step by step, he protected Han Xiner the entire time. Afterwards, Mo Ting watched the video of Bai Qindong's self-destruction and couldn't help but scoff. How troublesome. So, Bai Qindong was only good at acting, he had no business. Although Mo Ting scoffed, he still gave Feng Yu a phone call. Help Bai Qindong deal with the aftermath. There was nothing that Hai Rui couldn't fix. Chapter 476. Bai Qindong actually came out to claim his girlfriend. In fact, he chose to do it on a busy street. Actually, as soon as the answer was announced, the public expressed that they weren't surprised at all that Bai Qindong would do something like this. After all, this mysterious man, who was known for his acting skills, never took the normal path. So the public had a good opinion of Bai Qindong. In fact, they felt it was very normal for the older Bai Qindong to do something like this for the sake of love. A portion of the public expressed their sympathy for Luo Yi. After all, Bai Qindong had said that she was merely a prop. Not only was she a woman, in Bai Qindong's eyes, she wasn't even a human. Oh God, I can already imagine Luo Yi's awkward face. She must have directly challenged Bai Qindong to stand up for his woman. Actually, as someone that's experienced it, can I say that I believe Bai Qindong and Luo Yi had nothing to do with each other from the start? Look at what he did for Han Xiner, and look at what he did for Luo Yi. The answer is obvious. All in all, this is the result I was hoping for. After all, Luo Yi slandered Tongning, haha. I agree with the commenter above. Tongning has crossed the line, and Bai Qindong has taken all the responsibility. I respect him for being a man, but Luo Yi can't stand it anymore. Hurry and die. Tongning asked President Mo to freeze you. Are you kidding me? Does she think she's so important? Because of Mo Ting's instructions, Feng Yu instructed Hai Rui's PR to explain the entire situation. Hai Rui always spoke with the truth and tried their best to simplify the situation. In the end, the public only noticed two facts. Firstly, this was a personal matter between an artist, and it was impossible to judge right from wrong. As long as someone took responsibility, it would be a perfect ending. Secondly, Han Xiner and Bai Qindong's relationship had been real from the start. Plenty of people in the industry could testify to this. Afterwards, a rumor began to spread within the industry. It was said that someone had used their connections to obtain Tongning's phone number and called her to ask for her opinion on the matter. At that time, Tongning simply smiled and replied, "If I wanted to make a move, Miss Luo would not have had the chance to speak." The reporters were immediately convinced by Tongning's domineering attitude. Everyone in the industry was well aware of Tongning's principle of not offending others if they didn't offend her. For her, this incident had long become a normal part of her life. Therefore, she could only remain calm and collected. The netizens also mocked Roy. Haha, I ning am mighty. To be honest, when I first heard the news, I was thinking the same thing. Once Tongning makes a move, we'll know whether she's real or not. I believe this is what my Ning said, because my Ning is just that domineering. Just like that, a good show came to an end. Some people were worried that Han Xiner was lying, but it turned out that Bai Qindong and Mo Ting were cousins. Some people were suspicious that Bei Chendong had two women on his left and right, but he simply said he was using Luo Yi. Like a man, he took on all the scolding and ridicule. The funniest part was Tongning had given Emoting pillow talk. In the end, a simple response from Tongning turned Roy into a laughing stock. Even if he wasn't frozen, he would be too embarrassed to continue staying in the industry. In the end, Luo Yi never appeared in front of the public again. According to a passerby that bumped into her at the airport, she was too embarrassed to stay in the industry. Afterwards, Bei Chendong returned to his mysterious self and disappeared from the public eye along with his assistant. It was like the man that stood on stage and confessed to Han Xiner was just a passerby's dream. It didn't take long before October arrived, and The Lost Relative announced its completion. As one of the film's actresses, Tongning attended the celebration. As it was already late autumn, Tongning covered her stomach with a trench coat, so no one present knew she was pregnant. During the celebration, Weiyan approached Tongning and asked, "Before you reveal your pregnancy, would you be willing to go overseas with the production to promote The Lost Relative? I need an actress like you to speak up for our country's outstanding productions." Tongning swirled the glass in her hand and lowered her head in deep thought. She then asked, "When?" "I heard from Mo Ting that you have another interview to attend. Your overseas schedule will be arranged before then, so it won't affect your rest," Weiyan explained sincerely. "Our country needs more actors to step out into the world. Tongning, you need to lead the way. Out of all the actors that I know, apart from your grandfather, you are the one that has shocked me the most. You must make a contribution to the film industry." "Director Wei, you overestimate me," Tongning smiled gently. "You are truly worthy of being called an actress." That night, Tongning did not give Weiyan a direct reply. She simply told him that she needed a day to think about it. After the meeting, Tongning told Mo Ting about the matter and decided to discuss it with her husband. "You should go," Mo Ting said after a moment of thought. Mo Ting thought for a moment before replying, "This will be very helpful for your international career." "On this point, I agree with my grandfather. I don't think our domestic actors are inferior to those overseas," Tongning said as she leaned into Mo Ting's embrace. "It's exactly because of this that I want to go. I want to give the local actors and film fans a boost of confidence." "In that case, let's go." Mo Ting nodded his head as he hugged Tongning. "One more thing, Ting. I've thought about it carefully, and I don't think we should reveal my pregnancy to the public. I want to be in a quiet environment. I don't want everyone to find out. It feels like someone is constantly staring at my stomach, and it's not good for the baby's growth." After hearing this, Mo Ting sighed and asked gently, "Don't you care about people saying you can't get pregnant? It's not the truth, so what's there to care about? Plus, we still need to guard against Tang Xian. I'm not as magnanimous as you," Mo Ting said as he looked into Tongning's eyes. "But as long as you ask for something, I will agree to it. After all, I have always given you everything you ask for." After the couple finished their conversation, Tongning lay in Mo Ting's embrace to rest. Meanwhile, Mo Ting held on to her with one arm and flipped through some documents with the other. In this circle of intrigue, only their family was always filled with love and warmth. After The Lost Relative finished filming, Elder Mo continued to live in his small courtyard. As soon as he heard that Tongning would be attending a promotional event in the US, he gave his granddaughter-in-law a phone call in seriousness. "Your grandfather was once spat on by the Americans. This time, you must do your best." "Don't worry, grandfather." Tongning smiled. "Okay, compared to Mo Ting, I trust you more," Elder Mo said before he hung up the phone. Chapter 477. Grandfather is no longer my grandfather, Mo Ting said jealously as he looked at his wife. "How many years has grandfather watched you? Right now he only sees me as a novelty. But after the one in my stomach comes out, do you think he will still look at me in the eye?" Tongning couldn't help but laugh. "Plus, isn't it enough that you already have my love?" Mo Ting did not respond. He simply placed a kiss on Tongning's forehead and hugged her to sleep. While in a daze, Tongning suddenly felt Mo Ting's body heat up. So she quickly sat up and asked, "What's wrong?" Mo Ting leaned against the headboard and shook his head. Don't worry about me. Hurry and sleep. In reality, Tongning knew that this man had been abstinent for a long time because of her. In the past, he didn't want to because he had never experienced such a feeling. But now that his wife was in his arms, he couldn't do anything. Any man would find it hard to endure. Do you want me to help you? I don't want you to suffer, Mo Ting said with restraint. Listen to me and go to sleep. Actually, I've already spoken to the doctor. The baby has basically stabilized, so you don't need to endure so much, Tongning said in an incredibly gentle voice as she climbed onto Mo Ting's chest. I can do it. Mo Ting closed his eyes like he was going through a final struggle. But thinking about the feeling of being one with his wife, he couldn't help but open his eyes. At this time, Tongning took the opportunity to nibble on his mole-covered earlobe. This time her voice was filled with temptation. I want you too. There was nothing more aphrodisiac than these words. Mo Ting also understood that he would never be able to leave Tongning in this lifetime. As the saying goes, after tasting the marrow, he yearns for more. Soon, the white nightgown was quietly thrown on the ground. In the darkness, two bodies intertwined with each other. Just like before, only when one reached the deepest part of each other would one know just how inseparable they were from each other. A few days later, Mo Ting left for the US with his wife after handing over some matters at work. As Tongning was pregnant, Mo Ting was extra careful on this trip. He even hired over 10 bodyguards. No one could get close to Tongning. But they had no idea. Because of this, Tongning ended up causing quite a bit of trouble. Some people would wonder if Tongning had started to look down on her fans just because she had a high status. However, this was something to be done after returning to China. To increase Taka's status, Taka's management agency released an advertisement stating that he was extremely popular in Asia. They claimed that Taka was so popular that even the most popular female artists in Beijing couldn't help but fall in love with him. This proved that over the years, with the continuous development of the film industry, people in the European and American industries were placing more and more emphasis on the Asian market. Every artist was trying their best to break new ground. Afterwards, The Lost Relative held its first promotional event in the US at HSD. On the day of the event, Taka's agency invited a large number of famous actors to the event. Tongning arrived at HSD a day early. Of course, for the sake of safety, Mo Ting personally arranged everything for her. This was American territory, so she had to be 120% vigilant and watch the whole process carefully tomorrow. Before this, Xia Yuling had given Tongning a phone call. But at that time, Tongning was resting, so Mo Ting picked up the phone instead. Mom, it's Mo Ting. On the other end of the phone, Xia Yuling thought for a moment before saying, Mo Ting, Tang Xian has been playing a lot of tricks in Tangkor lately. It seems, she has found a way to deal with me and has been using the child to threaten me. I feel like her attitude is becoming more and more arrogant. For the sake of Xiao Ning's pregnancy, it's best that you don't reveal this matter to the public. I've discussed this matter with Tongning, and we have the same plan. That's good. Xia Yuling let out a sigh of relief. Mom, do you need help? Not for now. I want to see how far she plans to go with the child. When it gets to the point where I can't take it anymore, I will tell your grandfather, Xia Yuling replied. Does she want to gain status because of the child? That's impossible. Elder Tang's attitude is clear. He only wants the child, not the mother. Plus, even if Tang Xian wants to use the child, there's nothing she can do. After all, Xiao Ning is also pregnant. I was worried that Xiao Ning would be upset, so I called to remind you. Ning has my protection. Nothing will go wrong. Mom believes in you. Sometimes, I even feel like I owe you. You've taken such good care of Xiao Ning on my behalf. I must have done a lot of good deeds in my past life. After speaking, Xia Yuling felt she was being too emotional, so she quickly added, hurry and get some rest. I won't disturb you any longer. In reality, after hanging up the phone, Mo Ting stood by the window in deep thought. Tang Xian's matter was definitely not over. This woman was ruthless. He was afraid. There would be no end to her troubles. But he had information on every single one of Tang Xian's prenatal checkups. If Tang Xian dared to mess around, he was going to make her regret it for the rest of her life. The next morning, Mo Ting's makeup team arrived at the hotel. As the promotional event was scheduled to start at 3 p.m., they needed to prepare in advance. Because of the Oriental trend, Tongning had once caused a stir in the U.S. So today when the makeup artist asked her what gown she wanted to wear, she replied in fluent English, "I've already prepared my own gown. It's in the suitcase. You guys handle it in a moment, I will wear it in the afternoon." The stylist opened the suitcase that Tongning was referring to. Inside was a light blue qipao. However, this qipao was not as simple as it seemed. On the left side of the qipao was a colorful phoenix embroidered on a silk thread, extending all the way to her stomach. The elegance of the dress made the stylist gasp in surprise. Of course, the reason why Tongning chose to wear it this way was because the phoenix tail was able to cover up her slightly protruding stomach. Tongning had prepared this gown behind Mo Ting's back. She had said that she wanted to help Elder Mo get back at him. As soon as Mo Ting saw the qipao, he shook his head and smiled helplessly. On this point, he and Elder Mo did indeed have different views. He only competed with the strong and didn't care about national boundaries. But since Tongning wanted to do this, then he would let her be. Plus, he wanted to make Elder Mo dote on her even more. His wife had always been smart, and this time was no exception. "It's perfect. I've never seen such a beautiful gown," the stylist exclaimed as she held the gown in her hands. The stylist held it in her hands as she praised, "Mrs. Mo, you will definitely be the center of attention, I swear." Tongning glanced at Mo Ting as the corners of her lips slowly curved upwards. "Of course." Chapter 478. To be honest, although Stupid had received good reviews in Europe and the US, Tongning was only a supporting character. Plus, her new film hadn't even been released yet, so it was normal for her to be ignored by the big names in the industry. But if it was someone else, they may have accepted the situation. But she was Tongning. The Tongning that never admitted defeat in any situation. 3 p.m. Western and American actors began to arrive at the hotel. At this time, Tongning's Rolls-Royce slowly came to a stop at the entrance. Afterwards, Mo Ting, dressed in a retro suit, stepped out of the car first. Because of his dignified appearance, he quickly attracted the attention of the reporters. However, Mo Ting ignored the reporters standing at the entrance. He walked around the back of the car, opened the door for Tongning and helped her out. "What's going on? Who is this? Have you never seen this woman before? I think she's Taka's co-star, the Asian woman." The American reporters spoke in English and expressed their doubts about Tongning's identity. But they couldn't be blamed for everything. The main purpose of the event was to promote Taka, so Taka's agency placed Tongning's name in an inconspicuous position. Even the poster only had Taka on it. So the media only knew that Taka had gone to Asia to film, but they had no idea who his co-star was. After all, in their hearts, they did not have high hopes for Asian actors. Tongning's English was good, so she naturally knew what the people around her were talking about. But she did not show any stage fright. She simply hooked her arm around Mo Ting's as the couple entered the hotel together. The reporters had yet to realize that the woman standing in front of them was the Asian model that started the Oriental trend a year ago. Tongning did not remove her jacket as soon as she stepped out of the car because Mo Ting didn't allow it. He didn't want her to endure the cold. Only after the couple stepped into the hotel did Mo Ting help Tongning remove her jacket and hand it to a waiter. At this moment, a large group of guests had already gathered in the hotel. As the activities of the foreigners were relatively casual, the artists could choose their own style of activity. Tongning's appearance, of course, attracted the attention of a group of foreigners. Underneath her jacket was a qipao. Compared to the luxurious palace hotel, Tongning looked unique and elegant. Logically speaking, this was a European and American place, so it wasn't appropriate for Tongning to wear clothes like this. But the qipao she was wearing surprisingly matched the luxurious surroundings. After all, apart from being an actress, there was also a model living inside her body. So, attracting attention was something she was very familiar with. At this time, in order to let her shine, Ting naturally left her side and willingly became a supporting character. Even though he wasn't as low profile as he thought he was. This man was like a painting, it was impossible to ignore him. However, the strange thing was, he had his own brilliance and Tongning had her own uniqueness. The couple attracted the attention of all the foreigners present. Tongning understood what Ting was thinking, so she hooked her arm around his and smiled gently. I can't live without you by my side. Ting nodded his head before leading Tongning towards Taka. This Asian woman looks so familiar. What a beautiful dress. It's so unique. Which designer designed this? I've never liked Asian clothes because they are too complicated. But seeing this Asian woman wearing it today, I want to try it out. Oh my god, this is going to cause a new wave of Asian fashion. Discussions began to break out around them. The couple had caused quite a commotion. In the end, the couple approached Taka. Unlike his usual unruly self, Taka introduced his agency and team to Tongning in a serious manner. Taka, do these Asians speak English? Tongning smiled and replied naturally, of course. The man standing in front of Taka was stunned for a moment before he smiled. I am Taka's brother, Braun. I am also the boss of Global Agency. Hello, Mr. Braun. However, it seems you don't know who I am. Tongning replied straightforwardly. I am the female lead of the lost relative, Tongning. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know who you were. Taka said he wanted to go to Asia, so I agreed to let him go to Beijing. But I don't care what he acts in. After all, Asian acting is only so-so. The blonde American man named Braun expressed his disdain towards Tongning. You have a lot of celebrities, but to be honest, you don't have any actors. Hearing this, Tongning was not angry at all. She simply replied in fluent English. According to Mr. Braun, you have a lot of actors. Of course. There are at least 10 people present that have won international acting awards. This is a stage that you Asians will never be able to step onto. Really? Tongning asked. After looking around at her surroundings, she replied. Apart from Jason, I don't know anyone else. Does Mr. Braun know what this means? It means that in the densely populated Asian region, no one remembers the faces that you mentioned. The only reason I know Jason is because he guest starred as a villain in one of our Asian films. In other words, the so-called good actors in your eyes, when they see the Asian market, kneel down in front of Prophet. Braun was stunned. He had never imagined that Downey's words would be so incisive. So the good actors that you speak of can't even export their culture? That. Braun was speechless. I wonder if Mr. Braun has heard of a rule in South Korea? Tongning smiled confidently. She then continued. Their country often exports third-rate products and leaves first-rate products for their own citizens to enjoy. I think this is probably a habit of the Asians, because it's the same in our country. The older generation of actors and artists are all inheriting our excellent culture. There's no need to please Europeans and Americans. Only third-rate actors like me need to go international. The funniest thing is, you Americans were once popular for a person that couldn't even be considered an actor. Braun's expression was extremely awkward from Tongning's counterattack. However, Tongning had no intention of stopping as she continued to refute Braun. Do you still remember the Oriental trend? How many people here have bought Oriental clothing or accessories for me back then? After hearing Tongning's words, a lot of people were surprised. After all, the Oriental trend had yet to end. Chapter 479. Braun didn't want to let Tongning embarrass him like this, so he retaliated. If your country really had actors, would they need a model like you to act? Faced with this difficult situation, Tongning continued to smile. Her tone was obviously gentle, but her words were filled with the determination to defend her country's actors. That's because our citizens are all talented. It's just that I am the most unpresentable type of person. Tongning dismissed herself as unpresentable. So her words were flawless. As a result, all the foreigners present were shocked. When did Asians become so crafty? Since when could a woman make a group of men fall silent? Brother, don't say that about Tongning. Her acting is really good. You will understand after watching the film. Taka saw the guests were a little embarrassed, So he quickly grabbed his brother and explained. Seeing that the guests were a little embarrassed, Taka quickly pulled his brother aside and explained. She's really a very good actress. You can't disrespect my friend. Braun glanced at Tongning, and then at his brother. In the end, he let go of his brother's hands and turned to leave. Taka sighed and smiled apologetically at Tongning. Please believe me. Today was just a misunderstanding. It's okay, Tongning replied magnanimously. After all, she had the upper hand the entire time. Plus, they were on someone else's territory, so there was no need to be so aggressive. Soon Taka helplessly turned around and left. Afterwards, the venue returned to normal, and the event continued with Taka's team. However, because of what Tongning had just said, the other side no longer dared to look down on her. As a result, they treated her with utmost politeness throughout the entire event. During this time, someone even approached Tongning and pointed at Mo Ting. This man is really interesting. He is my manager, Tongning replied politely. In that case, which agency is he from? Tongning could tell that the other party was interested in Mo Ting, so she smiled and replied, sorry, apart from me, he will never be anyone else's manager. He is the CEO of Hai Rui and my husband. The other party was a little surprised as he raised his glass apologetically. This wasn't originally a large-scale event, but Tongning once again became famous in the US. Her and Braun's confrontation was secretly captured by a paparazzi that quickly made its way onto the most popular websites in the US. What kind of ability did an Asian woman have to attract the attention of the Americans time and time again? Apart from the cheongsam that she was wearing, which represented the culture of a big country, there was also the forceful counterattack that she had said to Braun. 1 year ago, she had changed the American people's perception of beauty. Today, she had changed the American people's perception of Asian actors again. Her words were enough to prove that the US wasn't a tolerant country. Plus, Braun's actions of insulting Tongning made it impossible for the Americans to retaliate. It didn't take long before news of the incident spread throughout the country. Elder Mo paid close attention to this incident. Seeing Tongning stand on the opposite side of the Americans and say such proud words, he felt the years of humiliation he had been holding back had finally been washed away. In the past, he had always felt that Tongning was lacking something, but he couldn't find an answer. From this moment onwards, he finally understood. He wanted Tongning's courage, just like the Mo family. Needless to say, Tongning had completely gained Elder Mo's appreciation. Such a good granddaughter-in-law should be pampered and doted on. Of course, not only did Tongning gain Elder Mo's love, news of her confrontation with Braun quickly spread throughout the entire country. Some people said that Tongning was too stupid, and that she had destroyed her international acting career. Others said that Tongning's courage was commendable, because she was brave enough to speak her mind and defend the dignity of her country. We just saw a good actress, yet she ended up destroying her own future. I feel great. When you come across a shameless foreigner, this is the way to fight back. Tongning did the right thing, didn't she? Plus, this is in line with her personality. What's right is right, and what's wrong is wrong. Exactly, Tongning has always been brave enough to love and hate. This incident was published on every major news outlet, and once again, Tongning's status in the hearts of the public rose. She was different from the average actress. Her value lay in the fact that she had a code of conduct. This was something that no one, no matter what, could go overboard with. Wei-an also gave Tongning a phone call and praised her for living up to expectations. From now on, you will be the one to handle situations like this. Compared to an actress or a model, you are more qualified to be a diplomat. Why do I feel like I've seen a third way out? Tongning smiled. Tongning, I wish you all the best. These words were from Wei-an's heart. In the industry, it seemed she was the only one that could live like Tongning. Afterwards, it was time for Tongning to return home. As she had caused such a huge commotion, her fans decided to pick her up at the airport. No female artist could cause such a huge commotion like a male celebrity, but Tongning managed to do it. But the fact that she was pregnant made it impossible for Tongning to take the public route, because she needed to protect the child. To avoid a huge commotion, Mo Ting directly booked a flight for the next day. However, on the day that the fans were to pick her up, A serious stampede occurred at Beijing airport due to the huge crowd. As a result, a number of fans were injured. The airport immediately sent out security to take the injured fans to the hospital. Luckily, they only suffered minor injuries. But on this day, Tongning was nowhere to be seen at Beijing airport. She had never planned to return to China on this day. The reporters later obtained Tongning's actual flight time from the airport. Only then did they discover that, like before, Tongning had changed her flight date to avoid the crowd. However, many fans still expressed their understanding. If Tongning had come out at that time, she would have definitely been injured. Luckily, Tongning didn't return. However, there were also some injured fans that expressed their anger. I never expected she would treat us like this. Does she think she can ignore her fans just because her international status has risen? Of course, this incident caused a commotion. But the people that blamed Tongning were in the minority. Until an artist posted a comment on their social media. When it comes to creating hype, Hai Rui is the only one that can win. Their new film is about to be released. Haha, they don't treat their fans as humans. Following this, a second comment appeared. Their new film is about to be released. Yet they look down on the Americans. When a new film arrives, they will immediately kneel down and lick their boots. After all, Tongning was a person that refused to admit defeat. She touched the nerves of those that had previously swallowed their anger in front of the Americans. Chapter 480. Why did this voice appear? It was because many people had told Tongning that she wasn't suited to stay in the industry. Her actions had subtly broken the rules of the industry. Although her words in the US were appreciated by many people, there were always people that were willing to endure the humiliation in order to make a name for themselves in Hollywood. In reality, Tongning's actions were meant to raise the status of domestic actors. However, there were some people that had faced the same situation in the past, yet they chose to endure the humiliation. They felt ashamed and angry because Tongning's elegance made them look extremely vulgar. Some people were even afraid that fans would compare them to Tongning, so they used the stampede incident at the airport as a pretext. No actor didn't want to step onto the international stage of Hollywood, and no actor didn't want to be famous around the world. If a big-name American director came knocking on their door, they refused to believe that Hai Rui would let Tongning miss out on such an opportunity. So it was only natural to claim that Tongning was trying to create hype. At this time, before Tongning left the US, an American director actually contacted Mo Ting through a friend of his. In reality, the director had already contacted Hai Rui about the fact that they were lacking a perfect Asian character. The commotion that Tongning caused in the US made many rational Americans reconsider their attitude towards Asian actors. They did not hold a grudge, and were willing to give Asian actors a chance to prove themselves. But Tongning still rejected them. I'm sorry, I have my reasons for not being able to take on the film. Thank you for your appreciation. The director was willing to give Tongning a way out, but Tongning still put on an act. For those that had been in the industry for many years, they felt that Tongning was acting too pretentious. As a result, their disdain towards her intensified. The day after, Tongning and Mo Ting returned to Beijing. As soon as they found out about the stampede incident, they expressed their concern. But for safety reasons, Tongning did not take the normal route. At this time, Tongning's acting career was at its peak. She was famous both domestically and internationally. But because she shone so brightly, she blocked the path of countless people. In fact, there were even artists from other agencies that started to form an alliance to ostracize Tongning. Tongning has slapped a lot of people in the face this time, including a few foreign artists. The more people she offends, the happier everyone will be, right? Back when she was a model, she was already arrogant. Who would have thought, now that she's an actress, she's still acting all high and mighty? It's so disgusting. Everyone in the industry is secretly communicating with each other. As long as there is a connection that can bring down Tongning, we need to make use of it. As long as it can be of use, don't hold back. Forget it. Can you afford to offend Hai Rui? Plus, don't you think Hai Rui doesn't have enough information on the things that happen in our industry? Emoting will be the first to know what you guys are up to. So what? Hairue could deal with one company, but if there were dozens of them, what could they do? Don't you understand the saying, everyone adds fuel to the fire? Inside a remote, high-class private nightclub, a few actors that often appeared on the silver screen were gathered together to discuss Tongning. In any case, I'm not going to participate in this matter. I'm just going to watch all of you perform. One of the women with long hair tied behind her head said arrogantly. Just wait and see. There are too many people in the industry that can't stand Tongning. This time they will definitely teach her a lesson. Who has the guts to do this? Have you guys already thought of a plan? The other three men sipped on their red wine as they gave each other a meaningful smile. Someone's got their hands on Tongning's information in the US. Don't forget, the industry is only so big. Long Jie was good at getting her hands on information. So, before Lu Che even heard about it, Long Jie had already found out from her friends that someone was plotting against Tongning. So she immediately headed to Hyatt Regency. As Tongning had no idea she was pregnant, Long Jie's sudden visit made her so nervous that she subconsciously covered her stomach. She had a feeling that her pregnancy would have a huge impact on Long Jie. Tongning, what's wrong with you this time? Long Jie had always felt that Tongning had always hidden her abilities and would never do anything that would anger the public. But this time, she had indeed aroused the ire of many in the industry. Do you know that there are already people waiting to ambush you from behind? What do they want? Tongning asked calmly as she sat on the sofa. In 2 days, you will be appearing on an important interview. On that day, I heard that someone is going to release an explosive piece of information. As for the details, I haven't found out yet. In that case, I'll just go with the flow. Tongning's eyes did not contain a trace of panic. I'm finding it harder and harder to understand you. Long Jie had no idea what Tongning was planning. Hearing this, Tongning finally put down the magazine in her hands and looked at Long Jie in seriousness. I have something to tell you. Huh? Long Jie raised an eyebrow questioningly. Actually, I'm almost 3 months pregnant, Tongning honestly told Long Jie. At the same time, she carefully observed Long Jie's expression. However, Long Jie was indeed surprised. She then looked at Tongning's stomach in surprise. Does that mean I'm going to be a wife? Long Jie laughed. This is a good thing. Why did you keep it a secret from me? Tongning did not say a word as she looked at Long Jie. Long Jie seemed to understand what she was thinking as she smiled. Did you think I wouldn't find out just because you didn't tell me? Don't worry, I'm fine. Io, did those people say you were infertile? They should have been slapped in the face. I don't plan to reveal this information, Tongning replied calmly. Plus, during the interview, I will be making a very important decision. Long Jie held on to Tongning's hand and nodded her head. You are no longer the Tongning you once knew. If you want something, go for it. If you want to do something, go for it. Long Jie, thank you for everything you've done. What nonsense are you saying? Long Jie squeezed Tongning's hand before letting go. I really hope to see your child born. Think about your and boss's genes. Oh God. This child is going to be heaven-defying. Tongning lowered her head and looked at her stomach. Her eyes were filled with anticipation. Afterwards, Long Jie left Hyatt Regency. However, as soon as she entered her car, she subconsciously held onto her stomach as tears uncontrollably rolled down her cheeks. She also wanted a child. She wanted it too. Chapter 481. After Long Jie left, Tongning stared at the magazine on the table in a daze. Afterwards, she turned her gaze to the bright scenery outside the window. When it came to the darkness of the industry, she was already invulnerable. She had never been afraid of fighting with anyone. But, now that she had a child with Emoting, she was going to do her best to take good care of their child. Was she planning to plot against her? Just give it your all. If she was afraid, she wouldn't be the vengeful Tongning. Over the past 2 days, the fans who had been trampled at the airport had been discharged one after another. When they were discharged, they received a full refund from the hospital. This was because someone had taken full responsibility for their medical expenses. However, they did not reveal who it was. The fans were confused, but they assumed it was arranged by Hai Rui. So they accepted it without any qualms. As soon as they were discharged from the hospital, they announced that they had turned from fans to haters. Although Tongning expressed her condolences to them through Hai Rui as soon as she returned to China, they couldn't see a single trace of sincerity. They even posted on their social media accounts, "I must have been blind to have liked Tongning for so long." Actually, in Tongning's eyes, we are worthless. In the past, when she saw us arguing with passers-by, she never stepped out to protect us. But this time, I've seen through her. When we are in danger, Tongning is worse than a stranger. Haha, how cold-blooded. Because of the extreme comments they made, they were attacked by other Tongning fans. As a result, they became even more extreme. In fact, they even used their identities as longtime fans to say to passers-by, "I've been a longtime fan for a few years now. Now, I'm a hater of Tongning. Her hype has no limits. Let me warn you, don't be tricked by her. She is extremely virtuous and has never had much contact with her fans. Can I say that she has always been a virtuous person? But it's getting messed up now." As longtime fans knew a lot of insider information and made up stories that were half true and half false, they actually caused internal strife among some of the fans. On the outside, there were people in the industry keeping an eye on her. On the inside, there were fans that had yet to calm down. Tongning was currently in a situation of internal and external troubles. Although for Tongning this wasn't going to cause too much damage. But if her loyal fans and potential enemies were to team up, there would be no end of trouble. Late at night, after Mo Ting helped Tongning to sleep, he returned to the study room. This time, compared to the previous conflicts of interest, Tongning was facing an even bigger crisis. Although this was something she had to face on her path to becoming a superstar, as her husband and manager, Mo Ting would not allow her to suffer any harm. However, he never expected Tongning to wake up halfway through. "It's already so late. Why are you still hiding in the study?" Mo Ting watched as Tongning pushed open the door and walked over to his side, so he wrapped his arms around her. "I still have some work to do." "Who are you trying to fool?" Tongning sat on Mo Ting's lap and lifted her head to look at his computer screen. "Are you making arrangements for my exclusive interview in 2 days?" "I can't hide anything from you," Mo Ting replied as he placed his chin on Tongning's shoulder. His voice contained a hint of exhaustion. "Actually, I've already made a decision." Tongning turned her head and looked at Mo Ting in seriousness. "I would like to take this opportunity to announce my temporary retreat from acting." Hearing Tongning say she was going to temporarily retreat from the industry, Mo Ting was stunned. "What's wrong?" Tongning asked after seeing his reaction. "Nothing. It's just, when you were about to become an international supermodel, I asked you to give up on your current achievements and become an actress. Right now your career is on the rise, but I can't bear for you to choose to retreat because of our child. I want you to be happy, not because I want you to give up on more and more things. Right now, everyone is saying that I have double standards and that I look down on Hollywood while meeting with an American director. So no matter what I try to explain, people will think that I'm just trying to please the public. So instead of doing that, I might as well distance myself from all this," Tongning said in a gentle voice. "Right now, I simply want to focus all my attention on our child. That's why I've decided to retreat from the industry. But it wasn't easy for you to get to where you are today. Ting. There's nothing I can't do. It's just a matter of time. So, right now, I want to take good care of our child." Mo Ting hugged Tongning tightly. Thinking about the trust and sacrifices she had made along the way, he couldn't help but remind himself that in this lifetime, he was going to give the best things to Tongning. "Okay," Mo Ting nodded his head. "I want you to return to the dazzling Tongning after our child is born. In fact, I want you to be even more dazzling than before." Tongning smiled and sat up straight. She then held on to Mo Ting's handsome face and placed a gentle kiss on his lips. Tongning had always been that type of person. No matter what was right or wrong, as long as it was a path that she had chosen, she would walk it to the end even if she had to kneel down. Especially for the sake of Mo Ting and their child, she felt Even if it cost her her life, she wouldn't hesitate. Afterwards, Emo Ting gave Wuxia a phone call and told him to give up on any preparations he had made. The moment Tongning announced her retreat from the industry, it would be the best way to counter all the rumors. In fact, Emo Ting suddenly came to a realization. According to Tongning's flawless personality, the only reason she dared to say something like that in the US was because she was already mentally prepared for the consequences of her actions. So rather than saying someone was plotting against her, it was more accurate to say that she was trying to find a perfect excuse to retreat from the industry. Emo Ting understood, Tongning only had one motive for doing this. She wanted to protect the child in her stomach and not be disturbed by the outside world. I really don't know what to do with you. Even I was almost fooled by you. Tongning understood what Emo Ting meant as she let out a gentle laugh. What other people do has nothing to do with me. I simply don't want to cause you any more trouble. Isn't it better for me to retreat like this? You always think about me, but have you ever thought about yourself? Of course I've thought about myself. My biggest wish was to become someone worthy of you. But now, I simply want to take good care of you and our child. Tongning replied in seriousness. So don't get involved this time. If anyone is plotting against me, I will let everyone know that even if I'm not in the industry, that no one will ever forget about me. Emo Ting smiled and nodded his head. Okay. Did they want to team up against her? Then let's watch a good show. Chapter 482. This time, Tongning's interview was called Super Celebrity Talk. It was an interview with the ace of the film industry. This time, Tongning would be participating in the interview as an actress. It was very different to her previous appearance as Feng Kai. The incident of old fans slandering Tongning was still ongoing. At the same time, rumors of Tongning double-crossing an American director were also spreading. This time, everyone in the industry was working together. But Tongning was curious to see what kind of tricks they had up their sleeves. Ningjia, this is the information regarding the interview. Inside Hyatt Regency, Song Yenshu sat opposite Tongning as she handed her a thick stack of papers. In order not to let anyone see, I've already arranged for clothes to cover your stomach. Thank you for your hard work. Tongning received the papers and nodded her head. She then seemed to remember something as she put down the papers and said to Song Yenshu, You were originally sent here to take care of me. After I get pregnant, there will be a few months of free time. So what are your plans? Song Yenshu had already prepared herself for this. So, she pulled on her purple scarf and smiled. President Emo has already arranged for me to do something else. President Emo has asked me to take care of your brother, Song Yenshu explained. That's a good idea. After hearing about this, Tongning let out a sigh of relief. Although Jingxian has adapted to the industry, he is still young and is bound to make mistakes. With you by his side to help him out, I can rest assured. I won't let you down. Song Yenshu suddenly stood up and bowed sincerely. Song Yenshu suddenly stood up and gave Tongning a sincere bow. I really want to thank you for helping me learn so much. I'm the one that should be thanking you for taking care of me. Tongning replied as she held onto her hand. In that case, will this interview with Super Celebrity Talk be okay? Actually, Song Yenshu wasn't completely clueless. After all, being in the industry, she had definitely heard some rumors. Of course it won't be a problem, Tongning smiled. After receiving a positive answer, Song Yenshu bid farewell to Tongning and left. As Tongning watched Song Yenshu leave, she suddenly felt a little emotional. Everyone had to complete their tasks and then retreat. But for Song Yenshu, it seemed her story had yet to truly begin. Tongning is finally going to participate in an exclusive interview. Apart from some scattered news and rumors, it seems she hasn't made an appearance in a long time. I hope she can bring good news and clarify the recent rumors. I don't believe that she is a two-faced person. Tisk, those old fans are so cheap. Recently, a few small-time celebrities have stepped forward to mock my Ning. Last time, I even participated in the scolding battle. It was so satisfying. Previous poster, 1 fan is better than 10 haters. Don't ruin your Ning's character. As soon as the trailer for the interview was released, Tungning's name was already on the hottest search list in the entertainment industry. As one of the most popular celebrities in the world, it seemed any small matter could attract the attention of the public. As for the interview, it would be at 7 p.m. tonight, and it would be a live broadcast. There was no way to edit it and redo it. 4 p.m. Under Mo Ting's protection, Tongning arrived at the television station in a van. Thanks to Song Yenshu's meticulous arrangements, Tongning was dressed in a navy blue trench coat, with a bow tied around her waist. However, just as she stepped out of the van, a group of people suddenly pushed past the media. As soon as they saw Tongning step out of the van, they threw eggs in her direction. Mo Ting immediately pulled Tongning into his embrace, and gestured for the bodyguards behind him to stop the men from getting any closer. Four bodyguards immediately stepped forward, and grabbed onto the hands of the 5 young women. They then dragged them in front of Mo Ting. Mo Ting's gaze was like a torch as his dark pupils emitted a cold glow. Are you guys crazy? We are her old fans. Last time, when we were all trampled, where was she? Tongning, we were wrong about you. Even strangers know to show sympathy. How could you be so cold and heartless? Seeing more and more people gathered to watch the show, Mo Ting knew there was no point in dragging things out any longer. So he sneered, how naive. Go to the hospital and check the medical records. Find out who the strangers are. After speaking, Mo Ting escorted Tongning into the television station. At this time, the bodyguards immediately released the 5 women. They didn't understand why Mo Ting would mention medical expenses at a time like this. So, one of them directly called the hospital to ask about it. But before they could find someone to ask, one of Mo Ting's bodyguards crossed his arms and replied, what's there to check? Needless to say, if there is one person in this world that can forgive their stupid fans, it is our madam. All of your medical bills were paid by her out of her own pocket. I feel ashamed on behalf of you guys. Hearing Tongning's name, the women were stunned as they stood rooted to the ground, unsure if they should believe him. As a celebrity, the madam shouldn't be held responsible for your brainless actions. So from now on, don't let the madam see you again. From now on, Hai Rui will publicly explain that the madam paid for your medical expenses. If you still have an ounce of conscience, step out and admit your wrongdoings. Heartless and unscrupulous people. Perhaps it was because of Mo Ting's careful selection. Even the bodyguards by his side were eloquent. This one, 82 tall, muscular and handsome man was wearing black sunglasses and emitting the scent of male hormones. Of course, the reason why Mo Ting chose these 4 men was because they each had their own strengths. After hearing the bodyguard's words, the onlookers immediately realized what was going on. They were talking about the fan stampede at the airport. Because they didn't care about Tongning, they went around slandering her. But the truth was, oh God, this is awkward. Didn't they say that Tongning doesn't care about her fans? For a popular artist to pay for her fans' medical expenses is already quite good. If these brainless people had brains, would they still be called brainless? Fuck. Isn't this a classic example of biting the hand that feeds you? How dare they go around slandering her? Tongning must have had 8 lifetimes of bad luck to have a fan like this. As the women heard the discussions around them, their faces turned red. They never expected that the kind person that paid for their medical expenses without leaving his name was actually Tongning. It was Tongning. The women left the TV station with their tails between their legs. They had never felt so ashamed in their entire lives. Yet Hai Rui still wanted to make this matter public? Wouldn't that be the same as announcing to the entire world that they had a problem with their characters? Chapter 483. Are you okay? Mo Ting asked as he wrapped his arm around Tongning after entering the hall. Tongning shook her head with a smile on her face. It seemed all she wanted to do was reassure Mo Ting. From now on, things like this need to be dealt with immediately. There is no need to drag it out. Mo Ting's voice was cold. Mo Ting's tone was a little cold. When it came to Tongning's safety, he could never afford to make a single mistake. So today's scene served as a reminder. There will be no future, Tongning replied in seriousness. Because of Tang Ning's current status and Mo Ting's status as her manager, the people at the television station all smiled warmly at them. After entering the recording studio, Tang Ning sat in the guest seat. Opposite her was the female host with long black hair. Mo Ting stood behind the scenes, taking in everything that was happening in the studio. Fans sat below the stage, each holding a nameplate with Tang Ning's name on it. As far as the eye could see, the fan-shaped viewing area was densely packed with people. Apart from being in awe of Tang Ning, everyone was also in awe of Mo Ting's coldness. After all, this king-like existence was Tang Ning's best protector. Not long after, the director gave the host an okay sign. The host sat up straight and smiled brightly. Because of its primetime slot and the popularity that superstar talk had accumulated over the years, it had always attracted the attention of film fans. And with the addition of Tang Ning, from the start, the viewership ratings had always been higher than the other channels. In August last year, a model who was famous for her long legs announced her comeback in a high-profile manner. Afterwards, with her own hard work, she created one legend after another. The Oriental trend sparked a craze in the US, and because of the Oriental trend, she was awarded the Most Outstanding Contribution Award. Afterwards, every step she took was difficult but steady. But just as she was one step away from becoming an international supermodel, she made a shocking decision. She changed from a model to an actress. I have to say, the heavens always take pity on those who work hard. So as an actress, she was extremely successful. And this person is today's female lead, Tang Ning. The host's words were unusually sincere. It was obvious that she had done her research on Tang Ning. Afterwards, the host placed her gaze on Tang Ning and asked gently, "So, how does it feel to be an actress? Is it better to be a model or an actress?" Actually, there's nothing to compare the two professions. However, they're similar because they're both meant to convey a comfortable visual effect. As for what it feels like to be an actress, I think I like challenges and breakthroughs, Tang Ning replied seriously. Everyone knows that you've shot 3 movies in a row this year, and the last 2 were the highlights. Which role do you like the most? The actress from Stupid, because I admire the person who wrote the story. But the scriptwriter of Stupid is John Doe. Does that mean you actually know who the scriptwriter is? The host asked. If it's convenient for you to reveal it, please tell us. Tang Ning took the opportunity to glance at Mo Ting, hinting that she might not be able to keep this secret any longer. However, Mo Ting did not seem to mind. It seemed he could do whatever she wanted. So Tang Ning smiled and confidently told the host, from now on his name will appear at the beginning and end of the film. Or perhaps you can all take a guess. The fans below the stage immediately fell into a discussion. Including the host, everyone was thinking about Tang Ning's question. There weren't many people in the country that could write such an outstanding script. As for the best scriptwriters, they had already established their own style of writing, so Stupid couldn't possibly have come from them. In the end, the host had no choice but to ask Tang Ning for help. Tang Ning, hurry and tell us. Satisfy our curiosity. It's actually quite easy to guess. Tang Ning smiled with a deeper meaning. At this time, the fans below the stage finally reacted and began to shout at the top of their lungs. It's President Mo. Tang Ning, it's President Mo, isn't it? As soon as the host heard this answer, she covered her mouth in surprise. After a second she asked, Really? Is it really President Mo? Tang Ning looked at the host, and then turned to look at the fans below the stage. In the end, she nodded her head. Oh God! The host gasped. This is big news. President Mo is actually the creator of Stupid. Isn't this a bit too well written? Yes, that's why I also admire him. Tang Ning was like a show-off maniac. She wanted everyone to know that Mo Ting was capable of anything, even though this was already a known fact. As the mysterious scriptwriter of Stupid was unveiled, the atmosphere in the recording studio suddenly became lively. However, at this time, the internet finally released evidence of Tang Ning's double dealing. It was a photo of her meeting with the American director. And this American director was someone that everyone knew. It was likely they had obtained a copy of the hotel's surveillance footage. But in the photo, Tang Ning and the director were indeed chatting happily. There's no bottom line in creating hype and no bottom line in shamelessness. Didn't they say they despised foreign directors? So this is Tang Ning with a backbone. It turns out, her backbone has to kneel in front of the US dollar. It's all hype, it's just for the sake of a new film. But this method is a little hypocritical and shameless. Is Tang Ning's aloof image about to crumble? Just wait and see. It won't be long before the US officially announces that Tang Ning has been cast. If that's the case, then Tang Ning can forget about watching any of her films from now on. I hate people that are like this. Let's make a bet. If the US doesn't announce it, I will run around the streets naked. Did they think these comments were made by fans? This wasn't the case. Every single comment came from an artist with a different status. After all, they had a certain level of appeal and attracted a lot of attention. Plus, it was rare to see a group of artists ridiculing an actor. As a result, the topic of Tang Ning's bad reputation in the entertainment industry became the hottest topic on social media. There were a few keywords: hype, hypocrisy, bitch, and stand-up. Above all, the artists that made comments were waiting for Tang Ning to be slapped in the face. Did Tang Ning really accept an American film after making such a comment? Don't think this was a small matter. In the entertainment industry, wearing another country's flag was enough to attract disgust from the public. If Tang Ning really did something like this, she would definitely hit rock bottom. After all, this time, the people that attacked her were a group of artists. Chapter 484. Inside the studio, Tang Ning was still being interviewed by the host. Even though Superstar Talk had quite a few internal staff members that had heard the news, a large number of celebrities were accusing Tang Ning of creating hype and acting hypocritically. To increase the popularity of the topic, the host discussed with the director during their break, and decided it was necessary to ask Tang Ning about her plans for her next film. They wanted to see if they could get any information from her. So, as the conversation continued, the host's smile was no longer as sincere as before. In fact, it was a little awkward. Tang Ning, your fans are actually curious as to what plans you have for your next film. Tang Ning had already sensed the presenter's probing. She already knew that a bloodbath was brewing outside. I already have plans, Tang Ning replied in seriousness. In that case, can you reveal a little bit to us film fans? For example, what kind of role will you be taking on? Host, you don't have to beat around the bush like this. I know you want to know if I've signed a contract with an American director, Tang Ning said straightforwardly as she looked at the host seriously. The host felt a little awkward. In that case, do you think I've already signed a contract with an American director? Tang Ning subconsciously gave a flirtatious smile as she asked. The public's reaction is indeed huge. The host's face flushed red. Don't be nervous. Since I'm already here as a guest, I think you can be a little more open-minded with your questions. After all, I've already revealed the secret that my husband is the screenwriter of Stupid. I'm sure there are only questions that you are too afraid to ask, but I am too afraid to answer. Seeing that Tang Ning wasn't joking, the host put on a serious expression. After making eye contact with the director, she finally let go of her courage. Because of Tang Ning's words, the show continued to reach new heights in viewership ratings. Obviously, this was the answer that the netizens wanted to hear. In fact, the director even prepared an electronic device for the host to refresh her comments. This time, the host completely let loose. Even though she had never been so ruthless towards a guest of Superstar Talk. According to statistics, there are currently over 30 celebrities online that are accusing you of creating hype. Do you have any response to this? I just want to ask one question. What are they basing their claims on? Tang Ning laughed as she asked the host. Based on the fact that I met with the director? I think, now that the entire internet has fallen, and the matter has blown up quite a bit, what do you plan to do next? Although she could already feel Mo Ting's cold gaze behind her, she still gathered her courage and said, why don't we contact one of the artists and find out why he made such a comment? If it is a misunderstanding, we can explain ourselves on the spot. Go ahead. Tang Ning was fearless. Then, the director team made a prompt decision and used their connections to get the contact information of one of them. Then they contacted the person on the set of the show. In reality, the reason why the production team dared to say something like this was because Tongning was confident in herself. She must have made thorough preparations before she dared to agree like this, right? After a short ring, the person actually picked up the phone. The host immediately explained that she was currently filming a show with Tongning and brought up the sensitive topic. But the person did not respond and directly hung up. At the very least, any artist with a bit of intelligence would not directly express their standpoint. After all, there were over 30 artists that had spoken up. If he was the only one that was contacted and spoke up, wouldn't he become everyone's target? He wasn't stupid. Afterwards, the television station was surrounded by a large group of fans. Some were there to protect Tongning, but of course, there were also those that didn't like her at all. Did it have to end up like this? Tongning looked helpless. In the end, she glanced at the host and sat up straight. Actually, today, I want to use the platform of Superstar Talk to announce a very important decision that I will definitely not disappoint. As it was a live broadcast, a large number of people online had already started to complain. It seems Tongning is about to announce that she has accepted a role in an American drama. Do you even need to ask? The answer is already obvious. Although I'm disappointed in Tongning, I still hope to hear something else from her mouth. Her image has already been destroyed. Let's see if she can continue to stay in the entertainment industry. Just as everyone thought Tongning was about to announce some good news, she stood up gracefully and bowed to her fans. To be honest, this decision has forced me to abandon a lot of my family. I know that a lot of people are waiting for me to be abused and slapped in the face. However, I regret to tell all of you that today, I would like to use the platform of Superstar Talk to officially announce something to everyone. I would like to announce. From today onwards, I, Tongning, will be taking an indefinite break from the industry. Wait, retreat? It turned out, Tongning wasn't going to say that there was a problem with the American drama, she was going to retreat from the industry. Retreat from the industry. It was just two simple words, but it seemed to contain a huge amount of power as it slammed into the bodies of the 30 or so artists. They said she was trying to create hype, and they said she was shameless. But at a time like this, her counterattack was to retreat from the industry. She didn't use any resources, she didn't use Mo Ting's name, and she didn't try to find excuses. She was going to retreat from the industry. No, Tongning, are you looking down on the industry because of this incident? Or, after filming 3 films in a row, I'm already satisfied. It's time for me to take on a different role. Tongning replied with a smile. I simply hope that those that have hated me, lied to me, and said that I was trying to create hype, will remember that they have been slapped in the face by me today. My plan is to not take on any more films. My aim is to retire after my success. So I have decided to retreat from the industry. As soon as Tongning's response was revealed, everyone was shocked. They had expected her to come up with all sorts of excuses, but they never expected her to directly announce her retreat from the industry at a time like this. If she was to meet with an American director and sign a contract, then she would no longer dabble in the industry. Plenty of people thought that Tongning was at the peak of her career, and that she wouldn't do anything to hurt herself. But she didn't take the normal path. Oh God, Tongning has directly announced her retreat from the industry? Chapter 485. That's right, retreat. Tongning replied confidently. The host covered her mouth in shock as she looked at Tongning. She never imagined, in order to prove her innocence, Tongning would make such a decisive decision. Tongning, you didn't actually have to. There was no official announcement from the American director, and I didn't sign a contract with anyone. The only reason I met with them was to reject them, not to sign a contract, Tongning said as she faced the main camera. From today onwards, Tongning will temporarily cease to exist in the entertainment industry. Thank you everyone for your support and tolerance. I would like to express my gratitude to everyone here. After speaking, Tongning once again faced the camera and gave a sincere bow. Tongning strikes back at the scandal. I choose to retreat from the industry. What forced Tongning to retreat from the industry? Behind Tongning's retreat is a group of jealous vampires. It didn't take long before the words "Tongning has retreated" appeared on the headlines of all the major websites. Her announcement had caught everyone off guard, especially those that claimed Tongning was creating hype and was ambitious. As soon as they saw Tongning retreat from the industry, a look of disbelief appeared on their faces. They couldn't believe their judgment of Tongning had been wrong once again. As Tongning left the studio, Mo Ting was on the phone with Lu Che. Find out who's controlling these artists. I'll give you 3 days. Lu Che knew Mo Ting wouldn't let things go so easily, so he had already begun his investigation. Since they dared to go against Tongning to this extent, it seemed they weren't far from death. Afterwards, Mo Ting escorted Tongning out of the TV station. This time, the fans outside the TV station no longer argued. In fact, some of them felt guilty for blaming Tongning wrongly. Especially after seeing Tongning walk out of the TV station, the fans immediately surrounded her and begged, "Tongning, don't retreat from the industry. Continue to act. Don't bother with these nobodies." "That's right, Ningjia. We can't bear to see you go. Can you reconsider?" "Ningjia, I support your decision. This industry is too disgusting. A bunch of people don't know right from wrong and only know how to slander the person we love. How shameless." Faced with the different voices of her fans, Tongning suddenly turned around and smiled at everyone. "Thank you all. I'm sure we will meet again if fate allows it." Tongning. Ningjia. Fuck, I hope President Mo can help us get revenge by kicking those nobodies out of the entertainment industry. That's right. When I get back, I'll make a list of those artists and make it public. Let's see how they don't work hard and push others aside. Seeing her fans' eyes redden, Tongning couldn't bear to see them like this. So in the end, she made a shushing gesture. "I still have 2 films to release. I'm sure they won't disappoint you. You are all my fans, so no matter where I am, I will always wish you the best. I'm leaving today not because I admit defeat, but because I need time to settle down. Trust me, I won't stay in the shadows forever." After speaking, Tongning boarded her black car with her fans following closely behind her for the rest of the journey. I will continue to protect my fans. I hope that those that have supported me all this time will be lucky because of me. Mo Ting ran his hand through Tongning's hair and nodded his head. Feng Yu knows what to do. Tongning relaxed like she had been relieved of a responsibility. She suddenly lay on Mo Ting's lap and closed her eyes. "From now on, I will have time to take care of you and our child." Mo Ting's lips curved upwards gently as he leaned over and placed a kiss on Tongning's earlobe. Tongning's fans kept their promises. That night, they listed all the artists that had made their comments online according to their popularity. Of course, since Tongning had already made such a big response, it meant that she had never signed a contract with an American director. So, the people from Hai Rui immediately stepped out to speak up for Tongning. All I can say is, Tongning is too outstanding and attracted a pack of hungry wolves. As Tongning's senior, I would like to say that the people from Hai Rui have worked hard to get to where they are today. We have never used any underhanded methods. As for those that ostracized Tongning, I'm sure their intestines are green with regret right now because everyone has seen their true colors. As a part of Hai Rui, as long as President Mo and Tongning need us, we will do our best to help. Bullying Hai Rui? Do you think you're qualified? I trust President Mo will do his job properly. So Tongning's retreat triggered an intense backlash. Not only from Hai Rui, but also from those that had previously been oppressed by Hai Rui. I feel bad for Tongning. The ones that should leave should be those arrogant trash. Haha, aren't there a few repeat offenders on this list? I'm already used to it. A small matter is a test of one's character. From this moment onwards, this list is going to be filled with Shang family's worries. I wish you all the best. Let's wait and see what happens. Although the incident involved a lot of artists, the power of anger online was enough to topple mountains and overturn seas. A few of the artists had already deleted their previous comments and cleared out their social media accounts. But Tongning's fans would not forget about them, because none of the artists on the list could escape. Meanwhile, A few artists from smaller agencies publicly expressed that they were too young and wanted to apologize to Tongning. Apologize? Tongning doesn't care about your apology. She simply wants you to leave the entertainment industry. Even an A-lister like Tongning has the courage to leave the industry. How could a lowly C-lister like you not have the guts to do so? To gather so many people, I'm afraid there must be a bigger conspiracy behind the scenes. As for the people on the list, it's best if you don't come out. Just looking at you makes me want to vomit. This is what you call hypocrisy. Of course, Hairue never let everyone down. Early the next morning, they announced that Tongning had paid for her fans' medical fees and revealed the truth to the world. Tongning cared so much about her fans, yet she was bitten back by them. Many people were shocked and felt disappointed for Tongning. Afterwards, Hairue released a second statement. But to everyone's surprise this time, it was Mo Ting who personally released the statement. The core of the statement was simple. As long as someone from Hairue was bullied, Hairue would use all their resources to seek justice. So what if they had 30 artists? Even if they had 300, Hairue would still find out the truth and make those involved pay. Because of Mo Ting's release, this statement caused a huge commotion. It also showed how much attention Hairue was paying to this incident. Most importantly, Mo Ting would definitely not let the people that started the rumors get away with it. Definitely. Chapter 486. But when he heard that Tongning had retreated from the industry, he was still quite shocked. But Elder Tang remained calm this time. He knew exactly why Tongning had made such a decision. Retreating from the industry was a good thing. It was time for her to do so. Grandfather, don't you think it's a waste for Sister 3 to do this? Tang Jingxian asked as he watched the entertainment news. Sister 3 isn't someone with a fragile heart. Why would she suddenly make such a decision? Your sister is protected by your brother-in-law. You should worry about yourself. Have you gotten yourself a girlfriend recently? Elder Tang looked at Tang Jingxian meaningfully. Tang Jingxian smiled in agreement. When will you bring her back for us to see? Elder Tang continued to ask. Hey grandfather, now that Sister 3 is no longer an artist, she can return to the Tang family and take over as CEO. What do you think? Tang Jingxian deliberately changed the subject. Elder Tang knew what he was thinking, so he smiled with a deeper meaning. Since you've entered the entertainment industry, you don't need to worry about the Tang family. Grandfather has his own plans. The grandfather and grandson sat in the living room watching TV. They did not notice the gloomy expression on Tang Xian's face as she stood behind a pillar. She wanted to destroy Tongning, but she never expected that Tongning would rather retreat from the industry than be slandered by others. Plus, wasn't this the same as shooting herself in the foot? She originally thought that by destroying Tongning's reputation, she would be able to deal a blow to Tongning. But she never expected it would instead put Tongning in danger of returning to the Tang family. Tongning taking over as CEO? If that was the case, wouldn't she have endured all this time for nothing? She couldn't allow this to happen. So, Tang Xian directly returned to her room. After locking the door, she pulled out her phone and gave a mysterious person a phone call. Send me Xia Yuling's latest schedule. If I don't make a move soon, Tongning will be back. I need to seize this opportunity to reclaim my power. The person on the other end of the phone responded with a okay, and hung up. Of course, the only reason Tang Xian was willing to work as a lowly employee for so long was because she already had a plan in mind. First, she used the excuse that Xia Yuling's secretary almost caused her to miscarry as an excuse to force her away. Afterwards, Xia Yuling's newly hired secretary slowly sided with her due to her repeated threats. Yet Xia Yuling did not seem to notice. This time, Tang Xian decided to stake everything on one throw. Who asked her to hate Tongning? 10 minutes later, Tang Xian received an email from Xia Yuling. According to the email, Xia Yuling would be leaving for Switzerland in a few days. Switzerland, Tang Xian thought to herself. Since I've already left, don't ever come back. Xia Yuling was indeed on a trip to Switzerland, but that didn't mean she and Elder Tang were unaware of Tang Xian's every move in the office, including how the secretary was secretly helping an outsider Xia Yuling was well aware. Not long after, Xia Yuling received a message from her confidant, saying that her secretary and Tang Xian might be up to something, so she needed to be careful. Xia Yuling immediately thought of the trip to Switzerland. Although there was no guarantee that there would be a trap, it was better to be cautious. Originally, she was supposed to go on this trip alone, but since the secretary liked to snitch so much, she decided to bring her along. After making up her mind, Xia Yuling gave Tang Ning a phone call. Tang Xian is up to something again. She's been holding back for so long, and is only making a move now. It must be because you announced your retreat, and she feels like her status is being threatened. In that case, she guessed correctly, Tang Ning replied with a smile. Mom, use this incident to get rid of Tang Xian. In that case, we need to plan a spectacular show, Xia Yuling replied after a moment of thought. I'm going back to Tangkor. Tang Ning replied straightforwardly. Since she's looking forward to it, I'd be letting her down if I don't return. What about the baby? It's fine, I have my ways, Tang Ning reassured Xia Yuling. Although her grandfather had given up on forcing her to become the heir of Tangkor, if Tang Xian continued to act like a villain and her mother couldn't do anything about it, she would have no choice but to clean up the mess herself. After Tang Ning finished her phone call, Mo Ting covered her with a blanket and carried her. The weather is getting colder and colder. It's best if you stay in bed and get some rest. But you heard what I just said. Didn't you say you'd take good care of me and the baby? I'm not going to work. There are simply a few situations that require my attention, so it won't affect me too much. I'm afraid that if I continue to ignore Tang Xian, she will hurt Mom and Grandfather. Mo Ting was a little surprised. He looked straight ahead and replied, You must have heard the phone call Lu Che made to me. The person that bribed people in the industry to spread rumors about you was Tang Xian. She must have been building up her connections in the industry for some time. Because I know she's starting to pull out all the stops, I need to cut the Gordian knot. In the past I didn't have time. But now, I will take good care of you and help Mom at the same time. Don't tire yourself out. Mo Ting did not have any other requests. He knew that Tang Ning had made the right decision. Although Xia Yuling could suppress Tang Xian, she couldn't stop Tang Xian's mind from working hard. Don't worry. When have I ever disappointed you? Tang Ning wrapped her arms around Mo Ting's neck and gently planted a kiss on his charming lips. Meanwhile, after returning to Hai Rui, Tang Jingxian originally wanted to tell Xia Jingyi that his grandfather wanted to see her. But, just as he was about to push open the door, he heard Xia Jingyi talking to another man. Why are you here? Are you afraid that your little lover will hear you? The man revealed an evil smile. Did you really think you could marry into a wealthy family? Don't forget, you are still my woman. You once tried so hard to woo me. Yet, because of a little lover, are you going to give up on the love you've had for so many years? Don't spout nonsense, Xia Jingyi immediately warned. Okay, I won't spout nonsense. I simply want to see the expression on your little lover's face when he finds out about your true colors. After speaking, the man turned to leave. At this time, Tang Jingxian immediately took a few steps back and pretended he hadn't heard anything as he turned to enter Xia Jingyi's waiting room. After sending the man off, Xia Jingyi saw Tang Jingxian and her expression changed. She quickly explained, This is my classmate. He came to catch up with me today. Tang Jingxian nodded his head as he watched the man leave. A man that exuded a dangerous aura and was extremely handsome. How could he possibly be a classmate? However, Tang Jingxian did not dare to believe it. Plus, he had no evidence. So he had no choice but to endure for now. Of course, the news that he had prepared earlier was immediately swallowed back into his stomach. Chapter 487. Didn't you have some good news for me on the phone just now? Xia Jingyi asked gently as she pulled Tang Jingxuan's gaze back to her. I'm about to release a new album, Tang Jingxian replied with a smile as he turned back to Xia Jingyi. I knew our heavenly King Luo would become more and more popular. Tang Jingxian tried his best to maintain his smile, but he felt he wouldn't be able to hide it any longer. Just as he began to feel like he was being hypocritical, Song Yenshu suddenly appeared behind them and said in an official tone, Luo Xing, Vice President Fong wants us to go to his office right now. Tang Jingxian suddenly felt relieved as he said to Xia Jingyi, I'm going to have a meeting first. Let's talk later. Okay. Xia Jingyi nodded her head thoughtfully. Afterwards, Tang Jingxian turned around. However, he never imagined. The once kind and pure Xia Jingyi had a side to her that he had yet to discover. Song Yenshu glanced at Xia Jingyi and followed behind Tang Jingxian. After entering the elevator, she asked, If you're unhappy, why are you hiding it? Because I don't want to be blinded by jealousy and suspicion. I need proof. Vice President Fong didn't call for a meeting. I simply don't think you can continue acting. This is the difference between you and your sister. Ning Jie has never been merciful towards those that hurt her, and has never been afraid. Song Yenshu said as she looked at Tang Jingshuan's back. Her sensitivity to other people's emotions is something that you will never be able to catch up to. You may not have noticed, and as her manager, I shouldn't be telling you this. But Xia Jingyi really isn't suitable for you. Tang Jingxian sighed. If you need anything, let me know. I can think of a way to help you. Thank you. Tang Jingxian nodded as he left Hai Rui with a confused mind. However, on the way back, he almost collided with another car more than once because he was distracted. He wanted to know if Tongning was in the same situation. How would she deal with it? In the end, Tang Jingxian turned around and headed towards Hyatt Regency. The person who opened the door was Zemo Ting. As soon as he saw Tang Jingxian, he raised an eyebrow slightly, but did not stop him from entering. Tongning's stomach was already slightly protruding. So as soon as Tang Jingxian saw it, he pointed to it in shock. Sister 3U. I'm pregnant, Tongning replied as she lay on the sofa. Why didn't you tell me earlier? Tang Jingxian immediately sat down beside Tongning. When did this happen? Thinking about what Tang Xian had done in the past, Tongning's expression turned cold. But in the end she still told Tang Jingxian everything, including the truth behind her retreat. After Tang Jingxian heard this, he slammed his fist on the glass table and said angrily, I really didn't expect you to experience so many things during this period of time. Big sister. No, she's not my big sister. That woman did so many disgusting things behind my back. Do Grandpa and Mom know about it? I'll go back and tell them now. Other than you and Sister Chen, everyone else knows. Plus, I might return to the Tang family to clean up the family. You need to forget everything I told you today, and pretend nothing happened. But, I have my ways. Everyone in the family knows what kind of person she is. She simply feels like she's putting on an act, Tongning said with a wise expression. Okay then. Tang Jingxian nodded his head. In the end he calmed down and thought for a moment before he remembered why he was here. However, when he thought about Tongning's situation, he didn't know what to say. However, how could his thoughts be hidden from Tongning's eyes? One doesn't come to a temple for no reason. Speak. Tang Jingxian pondered for a moment before he finally looked into Tongning's eyes and asked, Sister 3, what do you think of Xia Jingyi? I don't really understand her, Tongning replied straightforwardly. Why are you suddenly asking this? What if I told you that I was with her? After hearing this, Tongning's expression changed. If you thought there was no problem, you wouldn't have come to ask me. Tongning pointed out the crux of the problem. Back when you were being slandered for taking drugs, I already told you that the industry isn't as simple as you think it is. If even you feel there's a problem, why would you bother asking me? Tongning immediately pointed out the crux of the problem. Tang Jingxian fell silent, and did not say a word. Tongning was aware that Tang Jingxian was still young, and could easily develop feelings for the people around him. But she was happy to see him treat them with sincerity. But if he was to be used and hurt, she would make him pay a heavy price. Sis, you know that I rarely fall for others. If it's really as you think, then it doesn't change the fact that you've met a jerk. You are a member of the Tang family. Tongning said straightforwardly. Go ahead and verify it. Whether it's a misunderstanding or the truth, you need to understand it first. Tang Jingxian nodded his head. Just as he was about to continue chatting with Tongning, Mo Ting walked over to the two and ordered them to leave. Your sister needs to rest. As soon as Tang Jingxian remembered that Tongning was pregnant, he immediately nodded his head and did not refute. Okay, I'll leave now. Tongning wanted to laugh, but she was too embarrassed to do so. So after Tang Jingxian left, she pouted. Can't you be a little gentler with him? He came to steal my wife's time. Why should I be gentle? Mo Ting asked. Tongning couldn't help but let out a laugh. I can't do anything about you. After leaving Hyatt Regency, Tang Jingxian directly drove over to Xia Jingyi's apartment. As soon as he arrived, he noticed her door was ajar, and a cry for help could be heard coming from inside. Tang Jingxian immediately pushed open the door and entered. That was when he saw the classmate that Xia Jingyi mentioned earlier in the day was trying to snatch her handbag. Luo Xing, you came at the right time. Hurry and catch him. As soon as the man saw Tang Jingxuan's hand, he immediately threw his handbag aside and ran out the door. Xia Jingyi was so frightened that she sat on the floor and sobbed. What is this all about? He really is my classmate. He said he was coming to see me today, but he followed me all the way to my apartment and tried to snatch my things, Xia Jingyi explained. Tang Jingxian helped Xia Jingyi up and placed her on the sofa. However, Tang Jingxian did not say anything to comfort her. After making sure Xia Jingyi fell asleep, he looked around the apartment and left. How could he have the mood to return home and have tea while being followed? Shouldn't he have fought back as soon as the door was broken in? Plus, he knew Xia Jingyi had been home for a while. So why was he only snatched now? Of course, he couldn't rule out the possibility that the man only knocked on the door halfway through. But Chapter 488. Recently, the entertainment industry seemed to have returned to a peaceful state because Tongning had faded out of everyone's sight. This made all the artists that previously criticized her feel relieved. However, they had no idea that Hai Rui's revenge would always come at the end. In fact, it was perfectly reasonable. Not only was it impossible to retaliate, it was impossible to find any loopholes. For example, an actor that had already agreed on a game endorsement deal, but the game company suddenly changed their spokesperson without even giving them a heads up. Another example was a singer that was currently participating in a variety show and placed well, but was eliminated from the previous episode of the competition. There were countless examples like this. But whether it was the game industry or the production team, they were always able to find fault with these people, making it impossible for them to associate them with Hai Rui. So they would never know that Hai Rui's vice president had a name list on his desk. The names that had been crossed off were those that had said goodbye to the industry forever. Others may not have noticed, but Tongning's fans were secretly observing them. After all, they had long viewed these people as scum, and were always looking for an opportunity to cause trouble. But in the past 2 days, they realized that accidents kept happening to these people. Oh God, did Hai Rui do this? Isn't it a little too clean and quiet? Can I say that it's satisfying? One of the female singers that previously insulted Tongning is currently kneeling on the ground and begging her manager not to give up on her. I knew Mo Ting wouldn't let things go so easily. Is this what they mean by making them disappear one by one? Cool. Someone even publicly apologized to Tongning. Too bad. Mo Ting doesn't like people that know they will cause trouble, yet ignore the consequences. What can he do if he wants to die? The fan club was currently in a heated discussion. Some of the younger fans wanted to brag about Mo Ting's abilities, but there were also wise old fans that tried to dissuade them. Mo Ting and Tongning are used to being two-faced. I think we should learn from them and keep a low profile in case outsiders find fault with us. I agree. Me too. As long as everyone knows that President Mo is already getting his revenge, it will be enough. That way, the remaining people will feel threatened and have a sense of danger. Exactly. How they schemed against Tongning in the past, they should be paid back. This world talks about karma and retribution. In the end, Feng Yu, who had been instructed to maintain order in the group, made a shushing gesture. Afterwards, everyone fell silent and followed suit. Feng Yu couldn't help but smile warmly. She was indeed a fan of Tongning. She understood immediately. Some of the people that had framed Tongning had already come begging for mercy. However, in all the years that Hai Rui had been around, they had never tolerated such dirty things. Did they not know they would end up like this? At that time, they were simply taking a gamble. They didn't think Hai Rui would carry out such a large-scale revenge. However, they were wrong. No matter how many people there were, Hai Rui would not let them go. Vice President Fong, an artist from another agency, is kneeling in front of our office. Fong Yu's secretary said as she entered the office. Ask her to leave. If she's in trouble, she should look for her own manager, not Hai Rui. Fong Yu instructed without blinking. Directly contact her management company to come pick her up. Even if she doesn't find it embarrassing, Hai Rui will. Yes, I'll do it right away. Fong Yu did not think they were going overboard. After all, when these people tried to frame Tongning, they did not think they were going overboard either. They were simply giving an eye for an eye. That day, after Tang Jingxian returned home from Xia Jingyi's apartment, he ran into Tang Xian in the living room. Jingxian, I made you some supper. Do you want to have some? Tang Jingxian looked at Tang Xian's face. He had never seen her so ugly before. In fact, he did not even want to say a word to her as he directly returned to his room. Because Tang Jingxian had always been like this. Tang Xian did not suspect that he already knew about her scandal. Everything was going according to plan. The day after tomorrow, Xia Yuling was due to leave for Switzerland. She had to seize the opportunity. Elder Tang noticed Tang Jingshuan's expression was a little strange, so he called him into the study room. To prevent Tang Xian from eavesdropping, the grandfather and grandson sat on the balcony. Grandfather, why didn't you tell me and sister too about Tang Xian? Did Xiaoning tell you? Elder Tang asked as he held on to his walking stick. I saw that she was pregnant, but she didn't dare to announce it to the public because her own sister once tried to remove her uterus. Tang Jingxian scoffed. I simply want to know why Tang Xian and I have the same mother. Why is there such a big difference between us? Elder Tang sneered as he looked into the distance. She's already trying to harm Yuling. Then, it's none of your business. We know what to do, Elder Tang replied. If it wasn't for the child in her stomach, I would have already beaten her to death in the Tang family ancestral hall. Grandfather, I actually already have someone I like, but... Tang Jingxian gathered his courage and said, but she may be different to what I imagined. Especially after discovering Tang Xian's true colors, Tang Jingxian finally understood how scary women could be. Some people wouldn't treat you sincerely just because you were kind. My grandson, you don't have to worry about not having a woman. You can decide for yourself what to do. Elder Tang handed the initiative to Tang Jingxian. But before he ended the conversation, he asked, by the way, who was the beautiful woman I saw the last time I visited you at the office? Beautiful woman? Are you talking about my new manager? She's the Song Yanshu that used to take care of Sister 3. Tang Jingxian replied calmly as he thought of Song Yanshu. He had no idea why Elder Tang was suddenly asking this question. She's not bad. She's a mature and careful child. Elder Tang stood up. She could tell with one glance that I was afraid of the elevator, so she helped me up the stairs. Oh, Tang Jingxian nodded. You might want to consider it. Hearing this, Tang Jingxian finally realized what Elder Tang meant. He had his eyes on Song Yanshu as his granddaughter-in-law. Tang Jingxian calmed down. Song Yanshu had the ability to make people calm down. In fact, whenever he thought about Xia Jingyi, he didn't feel so bad anymore. The next day, Xia Jingyi applied for a day off from work. She did not mention where she was going, so Tang Jingxian thought he might discover something if he followed her. He didn't like the feeling of being suspicious of others, but, as Tongning said, there were some things that needed to be clarified. Chapter 489. Xia Jingyi was born into a family of scholars. Logically speaking, she wouldn't want to be with him because of his identity. But, Tang Jingxian pulled out his phone and gave Song Yanshu a phone call. Yanshu, don't plan any events or appointments tomorrow. I have some personal matters to attend to. No problem. But, I have one request. Remember your identity. I understand. Tang Jingxian hung up the phone. But he sat in his room and let his imagination run wild for an entire night. He thought about how Tang Xian had harmed Tongning, and thought about how Xia Jingyi had behaved. Tang Jingxian had never felt that the people around him were so scary. The next day, Tang Jingxian watched as Xia Jingyi drove away from the apartment. He followed behind her until halfway there. The so-called classmate she had been talking about came out of a small villa and naturally got into Xia Jingyi's car. Tang Jingshuan's hands, which were holding onto the steering wheel, suddenly tightened as the flames in his eyes darkened. However, he continued to follow behind them without a change in expression, until Xia Jingyi's car entered a graveyard. On a steep hill, Tang Jingxian saw Xia Jingyi and the man holding onto flowers as they approached a tombstone. Of course, Tang Jingxian couldn't hear their conversation. But the man simply grabbed onto Xia Jingyi's waist, pulled her into his embrace and kissed her passionately. Meanwhile, Xia Jingyi did not resist at all. Seeing this, Tang Jingshuan's chest couldn't help but expand. There was no need to say anything else. Tang Jingxian directly turned around. At this time, the man noticed Tang Jingxian and gave Xia Jingyi an evil smile. Your little lover seems to have seen us being intimate. Xia Jingyi's expression changed as she panicked. She immediately chased after Tang Jingxian and grabbed onto the corner of his shirt. Luo Xing, let me explain. There's nothing to explain. Tang Jingxian pushed her away as his expression turned frighteningly dark. I really have my own difficulties. No matter how big your difficulties are, you don't need to kiss someone to solve them, Tang Jingxian said in a harsh tone. His mother passed away because of me. So he can ask to kiss you and even sleep with you. Xia Jingyi, don't you think this is ridiculous? I won't reveal what happened today. But Xia Jingyi, let's end things here. After speaking, Tang Jingxian turned to leave. However, Xia Jingyi burst into tears and pounced on him again. Luo Xing, I truly love you. So, how do you make out with someone else while loving me? What about him? What is his position in your heart? Xia Jingyi took 2 steps back, suddenly unable to speak. I'm her first love. It's normal for her to forget about me. The man chased after them and said coldly, Luo Xing, you saw it too. When I kissed her, she did not resist at all. That's the best proof. I wish you happiness. Tang Jingxian had no intention of lingering. After speaking, he turned around to leave, but Xia Jingyi refused to let go. Luo Xing, can you not give up on me so quickly? This time, Tang Jingxian didn't even bother to reply and quickened his pace. What right did a 2-timing woman have to beg others not to give up? Why are you crying? The man grabbed onto Xia Jingyi's arm and pulled her into his embrace. Don't even think about being rich. Be a good girl and marry me. After all, you slandered me yesterday for trying to steal something from you. I'm going to torture you for the rest of your life. Xia Jingyi cried as she watched Tang Jingxian leave. Her heart ached, but she couldn't deny the fact that even though the man beside her had treated her badly, she still had feelings for him. Some things were like an apple that looked good on the outside, but was already rotten on the inside. Tang Jingxian was shocked and his heart was in a mess. In one breath, he arrived at Hyatt Regency. The only people he still trusted in this world were Tongning and Mo Ting. As soon as he stepped through the front door, he lay on Tongning's lap in low spirits. Seeing him like this, Tongning could roughly guess what had happened. It's okay. Sis, why do you think there are so many selfish people in this world that would lie to others for the sake of their own selfish desires? Tang Jingxian asked in a dull voice. Why do you treat it so naturally? Why are you begging for forgiveness? It's all your fault for being blind. Of course, your sister has also been blind before. Hurry and get up, don't squeeze your nephew, Tongning urged. Just as Tang Jingxian was about to get up, he received a phone call from Song Yenshu. Xia Jingyi has been looking for you everywhere. What happened? Yenshu, from now on, just hang up on Xia Jingyi. She's 2-timing. Are you okay? Song Yenshu asked in a gentle voice. I'm just a little tired and need some peace and quiet. After speaking, Tang Jingxian was about to hang up the phone, but Tongning grabbed it from his hand and said, He's with me, He's with me. Come and get him. Sister 3. Yenshu is a trustworthy person. Haven't you noticed? Don't hide this matter from her and deal with it on your own. Give her the respect she deserves. If something happens, she will know how to handle the PR, Tongning explained patiently. You're a man. Can't you take a little setback? You can come and look for me this time, but do you want to come every time? Your brother-in-law is going to break your legs. Tang Jingxian fell silent and did not speak. Then she covered her mouth and took a deep breath. Only then did she calm down. Sis, I'm sorry. It's nothing. It's just a small setback. Apart from this, she really wanted to see the once innocent Xia Jingyi once again. Was the Tang family cursed? He was always being stepped on. However, right now this was still a small matter, because tonight, it would immediately become a big matter. In order to take revenge on Xia Jingyi and Tang Jingxian, Xia Jingyi's man revealed their fiancé relationship to the media. He even claimed that Tang Jingxian had secretly seduced his fiancé. Actually, the other party had already planned this from the start. Xia Jingyi not only caused him to lose his mother, but she also caused him to fall in love with someone else. Even if it was someone else, they wouldn't be able to accept it. As Tang Jingxian and Xia Jingyi had worked together many times, there were many photos of them together on the internet. This kind of scandal, to a popular heavenly king, it was easy to imagine how destructive it was. But there was no way Song Yenshu would allow the other party's scheme to succeed. So, after discussing things with Fang Yu, she quickly responded and admitted that they were once in a relationship. Afterwards, Song Yenshu revealed that Tang Jingxian was the one that had been lied to and that he had suffered a huge blow. But, according to the current situation, it was impossible for the public to stand on Tang Jingxuan's side. After all, Xia Jingxuan's fiancé had already spoken out. Wasn't this because he couldn't stand it anymore? You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.